like vividly. Buzz, 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 buzz. Buzz, 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 buzz. Buzz, 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 buzz. This is fucking getting quiet.
I need to.
You had to come play with us on Sunday morning.
Tomorrow's Wednesday, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, we're a month away.
Well, just to start figuring out what we're doing, what you're doing.
Yeah, please. It'd be nice to know. Yeah, encourage the play thing. They want to play with you and me and what, Randy? Or just two other listeners?
I think that's what we had originally said in one meeting a while back.
We'll tell them, get them to pay the fee and then make $100 donation to Honor Flight. You know?
Or auction house.
Oh, that's not bad.
We didn't get more out of it.
Yep. It's amazing what people do when they've got money that they don't give a damn about.
Oh, yeah, that's how.
You know? We were just talking about.
In that room at the mayor's
Oh, fuck.
It's just
Ridiculous. Redonkulous. Did you see Bowers?
No, he was out of town, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What about Romeo?
I didn't see him there either.
No?
But there's a lot of people I didn't see.
Is it that many people?
I got there later.
I thought you were the host or the MC.
Yeah, but I didn't see anybody from there. You know what I mean? Started to see people in the room.
Right.
And then I got there late, so I didn't get to hang out before and see downstairs and hang out.
Cocktail. Oh, that's right. They go from upstairs to
Yeah.
downstairs to
So
upstairs.
everything's downstairs free, and then they go
Cocktails.
Out when dinner starts.
Yeah. Hey. You left your phone. You left your phone, dude. I was like, ooh, where's that shirt? I like that shirt.
Yeah.
Are you coming in here? Ooh, nice. God, don't fuck that up. Good God Almighty. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, or however you may be viewing. For those subscribing on YouTube, it's the Ralph Bailey Show. On a Tuesday, 24th day of February, Chris Burdick is producing the show, and a busy one it is. Savannah Guthrie and the Guthrie family have finally raised the stakes in the reward for their return of their mother, Nancy. They are now offering $1 million. We'll delve into that in just a moment. The president will try to convince Americans the economy is better than what they're feeling. This is going to be a long night in the House of Representatives. We're putting the over-under at 90 minutes. I've got the over. I think he's going to go for 2 hours to about 11 o'clock Eastern time. Then there's the Democratic response from the Democratic governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And then you're bleeding into 11 o'clock news, which negates criticism that are naturally going to come from the national media. It is a Tuesday. Teresa Golden, our former federal magistrate judge, will join us at the bottom of the hour. And Tony Gonzalez, no, not that Tony Gonzalez, congressman out of Texas, is being urged to resign despite the fact that it kills the Republican Party. In fact, it ends the majority with 3 other vacant seats. Gonzalez is accused of having an affair with a staffer who, as I told you, committed suicide, but I did not know the nature of her suicide. We'll talk about that. And really fascinating interview with Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, who, as you know, is one of the leading candidates thus far in all the polls in the gubernatorial race. The lead has switched between he and Steve Hilton. However, the 2 Republicans have dominated the polls. It's a very crowded Democratic field that is all dispersed out, and Eric Swalwell is second behind Steve Hilton. Bianco is third. Katie Porter is fourth. And then the also-rans are all in the single digits. Hilton is leading with about 17%. 21% say they are completely undecided. But I'm telling you, if these Democrats aren't smart, and Villaraigosa and Tony Thurmond and Betty E. and all these people most of you have never heard of and don't have a chance in hell of winning the governor's race, if they don't get out and this thing stays spread out throughout June, we have an opportunity to get somebody in, either Hilton or our guest today, Mr. Sheriff Bianco, in the general election. Then that's when the tough work begins, when we try to take on a Democrat in a one-party state. We'll delve into that. And the Scrivener family joined Shannon Grove up in Sacramento, the Scrivener family being Christina, Zach Scrivener's not late wife, she's not dead, Ralph. His, what's the term you use for it? His estranged wife, and their 18-year-old son, who showed some remarkable courage for a young man in speaking about his situation with his father. You will hear from that young man. And the city, Daniel Rodriguez, he's good. They got $22 million out of the city in the case involving Ricardo Robles, the BPD officer who on a chase was not using his lights or sirens and rammed into Marco Lazar, killing him and injuring Ana Hernandez. The family got a cool $22 million. Not bad. And all in the name of a man's death, because just when speaking, I'm just perplexed about that. What's the advantage of going with lights and without sirens? I just don't understand that. And our Black History Month moment, as we wind down the month of February, focus on astronaut and mathematician and chemist Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space. We'll talk about that as well. And I've got some miscellaneous news and notes to get to. I'm feeling wonderful, Mr. Burdick. In bed by 10, sleep by 11, woke up at 7 o'clock on the button to Craig Melvin and Hoda. Yeah, I feel so much better. Yeah, I feel so much better. And, you know, I listened to part of the show last night, and I apologize. I was horrible. I couldn't complete a sentence yesterday. I really couldn't. I was working on like 3 or 4 hours sleep, and I was punchy and just, it was just a horrible show. I apologize. But in the meantime, we'll make up for it today. We begin, obviously, with the Savannah Guthrie situation, where, again, they are offering $1 million reward. The family is also providing a $500,000 donation to the Children's Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And, you know, as you guys know, as some of the regular listeners know, I was critical from day one when I heard that the ransom money was $50,000. And as I pointed out, on the first day, we helped raise, literally, you all helped raise $5,000 when Kason Guyton was shot by a gangbanger. His girlfriend, his mother's boyfriend, was the intended victim in the car, and Kason was shot. He was 5 years old at the time, and the reward is only 15 grand. We raised 5,000, make it 20 for a 5-year-old boy here in Bakersfield. And you're talking about Savannah Guthrie, who makes $8.2 million a year, and for what? How many weeks? The damn reward was 50 G's. and then they upped it to 100 G's, and now 3 weeks into it, you finally bump it up to 7 figures. It's the old story. Where you been, coach? Holy kingfish. Meantime, and this is a bit long, but I think you should hear this. She's made yet another plea, and it's the first allusion that she makes to perhaps what many of us think is the inevitable.
Hi there. I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since my mom was taken in the dark of night. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then. Worrying about her, fearing for her, aching for her, and most of all, just missing her. We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return. And we feel those prayers. Please keep praying without ceasing. We still believe. We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home. Hope against hope. As my sister says, we are blowing on the embers of hope. We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad, and with her beloved, and with our daddy. If this is what is to be, then we will accept it. But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. For that reason, we are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery. All of the information about this reward, the details, is in the caption below. You can call the 1-800-TIP line. You can be anonymous if you want. Someone out there knows something that can bring her home. Somebody knows. We are begging you to please come forward now. We also know that we are not alone in our loss. We know there are millions of families that have suffered with this kind of uncertainty. And for that reason today, we also are donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for their work in helping families who are coping with loss and actively looking for those who are lost. We are hoping that the attention that has been given to our mom and our family will extend to all the families like ours who are in need and need prayers and need support. So please, if you hear this message, if you've been waiting and you haven't been sure, let this be your sign. So please come forward, tell what you know, and help us bring our beloved mom home so that we can either celebrate the glorious, miraculous homecoming or celebrate the beautiful, brave, and courageous and noble life that she has lived. Please be the light in the dark. Thank you.
Her husband has recently joined her in Tucson, and I think it may be just a coincidence, but I think he may have had something to do with upping the reward. And, you know, I was thinking about this last night, I realized that I was being stupid when I said, because I do believe that if they found her today, if they found her mother alive and well today, Savannah Guthrie wouldn't be able to go back on television until like next January. But I suggested that she may not ever come back to television. And that was about one of the dumbest things I've ever said. Because when she comes back, and I hate to sound mercenary, but when she comes back, the Today Show numbers will be out of the roof. Are you kidding me? And it was one of the listeners, excuse me, in the chat room who suggested how they could bring her back. And it's to have her come back maybe on a Monday and maybe on a Friday night, have her do a 1 hour special, not only on her mother, but other missing cases perhaps, but obviously focusing on her mom and what they went through and that kind of thing. But it's going to be months before she ever gets in front of a television lens again. Because you can just tell, the audio doesn't do it justice when you see the video. She's just tapped, absolutely tapped out. I mean, none of us can even imagine your 84-year-old mother waking up in the middle of the night with a strange man with a gun in his belt and a mask hovering over you, ushering you out of your safe home at 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. It's unimaginable. And I bet she hasn't slept. I bet she hasn't eaten. I bet she's lost a bunch of weight. I bet her blood pressure's going crazy. I bet it's just a mess. It's just unthinkable. Let's go ahead and take a break. First break of the day. We come back. It's going to be a long night in D.C. 50 or so Democrats are going to the mall with Joy Reid. Yeah, good luck with that. That'll get a lot of coverage. Good googly moogly. And Teresa Golden will join us at the bottom of the hour. And gubernatorial candidate, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco at 4:30. And you'll hear from Robert Scrivener, the oldest son of disgraced former supervisor Zach Scrivener. His estranged wife joined Shannon Grove in pushing Senate Bill 1373 to minimize mental diversion programs for people like Scrivener who don't deserve it. One thing I did note that I was kind of disappointed in is that there was no allusion to the Attorney General's office and their incompetence in charging Scrivener with a specific charge that provided him with mental diversion, as opposed to a sexual charge that would have demanded that he register as a sex offender, et cetera, et cetera. No allusion to that. We'll get to that in the 5. And again, our Black History Month moment focuses on astronaut Mae Jemison. You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
I'm sure the State of the Union address, as stupid as I think it is, will be a lot of the show. Highlights, lowlights, what the Democrats do is stunts, etc.
And if we do give the Ayatollah a whacking, what are the risks? We'll consult a bunch of leading global experts and talk about war with Iran. Also, what it is they have Armstrong.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Have you ever had the lobster mac and cheese at KC Steakhouse? It just goes to my point about how Chef Daniel over the last 5 to 7 years has really expanded the menu at KC Steakhouse. Because there are a lot of parties, a lot of anniversaries, et cetera, that go on at KC Steakhouse, and right next door at the Stockyard as well. And not everybody at a big table of 6 or 8 or 12 is feeling red meat. And that's why when you go to KC Steakhouse, you're going to have one of the best steaks you ever had in your life. But you also can have one of the great fish dishes, the mahi-mahi, the halibut, the swordfish, or the great chicken dishes, the Ralph Bailey that I talk about, the chicken breast smothered in a creamy mushroom and spinach sauce. And again, don't forget about the Stockyard next door. They're providing live music Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday nights. And as I always remind you, Jimmy and Bobby are providing live music in the main restaurant. Where would you rather be than on F Street in the capable hands of Cassie Biddle's incredible staff at KC Steakhouse, longtime sponsors of the Ralph Bailey Show.
How can you grow your business from idea to industry leader with smart business buying tools and technology from Amazon Business? From fast, free shipping to in-depth buying insights and automated purchase approvals, we deliver everything you need. Go to AmazonBusiness.com for support.
Even if you think
Are you willing to give that girl ain't pregnant? I told you. I told you.
Not Mr. Bailey.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. What's that? No, I'm sorry. Oh, I know. I know.
Time to plant some flowers.
Hey, Chris, what time's Mike? What time's Mike? $5:15.
Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KPRN.
Just a couple hours away from the president's first State of the Union in his second term as president, doing the Grover Cleveland, winning, losing, and winning. They are the only two to do so. And everybody, everyone, an overwhelming majority of Americans want to hear him talk about the economy. It's not even close. It's not even close. It's like 63%. And then it's like literally down to 13. Immigration is at 13. Second, what they want to hear about. They want to hear about the economy. And this is a really important speech. Let me just read from the New York Times, their lead today, as a matter of fact, just to kind of underscore what an opportunity the president has and how important this speech is. The New York Times lead is, I got a bunch of stories in here on Gavin Newsom. Wait till you hear the story I got about Gavin Newsom. Good googly moogly. How this guy absolutely lied about his time in college as a baseball player. And they found guys on his team that were like, dude didn't play. What are you talking about? I can't find it. But they're basically saying that the midterms may depend on this. This is his one opportunity. And he's going to blow it if he does the Trump. If he comes out and says, this is the greatest economy ever, boop, 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 as opposed to kind of, they were showing a compilation of State of the Unions, and the only president, literally, since George Washington, the only president to ever say, because they begin with, the State of the Union is good. And the Republicans will stand up and the Democrats will sit on their hands. And Gerald Ford was the only president in American history who said, the State of the Union is not good. Now, you got to remember history at the time. Ford is the only president never elected to the executive branch. He was appointed to be vice president. Richard Nixon resigned. He took over as president. Never got a single vote. It's never happened in the history of this country. And so he was taking over at one of the single lowest times in American history. We had never had a president resign ever. I mean, that scene, I was 12 years old. I remember Richard Nixon getting on Marine One and turning around and giving the victory, well, at the time it was perceived as a peace sign, but it was really a victory sign for Nixon, who was basically saying, kiss my behind, as he flew back to California. But he's the only one to say that it's a bad economy. But what they're expecting the president to talk about is the Dow, the fact that it's hit 50,000 for the first time, that inflation is down and is at 2.4 as compared to 9.1 at one point due to Joe Biden. But that's another thing that he's got to watch. I'm going to count And if I were young, I'd take a shot for every time he says Joe Biden. He's got to stay away from that. Okay, the past is the past. I've talked about that when Democrats come in here and try to make comparisons. The past is the past. And nobody lives their life, at least winners don't live their life in their rearview mirror. And it's ridiculous. And I'm telling you, he's also going to bring up 2020, which is another horrendous mistake. People are living check to check. People can't come up with $1,000 if they had to on the spot. And you're talking about the election that took place 6 years ago? Still, really? Please, Mr. President, don't do that. He's also going to mention the tax cuts that are about to take effect. If you are a waiter or you do overtime work, you got to be extremely happy. You're going to see a much bigger check this year. And the Trump accounts providing $1,000 for newborns. It's a big opportunity for him. But he's got to be humble, which we all know is an absolute impossibility. He's going to pump this thing, oh, it's the greatest economy ever, and we're doing extremely well, and blah, 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 blah. And people are going to roll their eyes. The country is going to collectively roll its eyes if he goes out and says, and does the Biden. That's what's so amazing. Can't you see that you're following directly in the footsteps of Uncle Fluffy and telling the American people not to believe their lying eyes, but believe you because we're over 50,000 on the Dow? That doesn't help a single mother in Des Moines. That doesn't help the woman in Anaheim that's trying to struggle, or the family of two teachers that are, making 150, 200 grand and are still struggling. But it's an opportunity because, they're voting in Texas, and there are a lot of congressional races that are going to be going to primaries in about a week or so. And I'm telling you, this midterm is about as consequential as it gets for the Republican Party. Because as I will redundantly say all the way up until November, if we screw around as Republicans and lose the House and the Senate, they are going to get rid of the filibuster. They're going to, I've always said they're going to begin with the courts, but they wouldn't do that because the president can still make appointments. So they'll begin with statehood for Washington and Puerto Rico. That's where they'll begin. And then they'll be assuming, if they win the House and the Senate, that they're going to win the White House in 28, which will make it quite likely. And then they'll pack the court and announce 6 new justices on a 51 majority vote. Quick time out. It's a Tuesday. Teresa Goldner joins us next. Come on in and take off your skin and rattle around in your bones. Come on in and rattle around in your bones.
I'm not sure where he got that one, to be honest with you. Is that a Ralphism? I don't know if it's a Ralphism or if it's a Ralph Seniorism or if it's a...
There's such a thing as a Ralphism. Wait till you hear this case.
What we got today?
The case that got decided today.
On Wall Street,
Tuesdays is usually when they let out their decision.
Is it really?
That's the case that kind of crazy.
Really? No? Can't wait. Did you want to pair headphones? I usually don't feel called for any second anyway, but...
The woman killed in a fire on February 7th on Glacier Drive in the Fraser Park area has been ID'd by the Kern County Coroner's Office as 66-year-old Margaret Ann Henricks. In a wreck that happened Friday morning on Highway 14 near Cantle, the woman killed in that wreck has been ID'd as 50-year-old Christy Lynn Vivian of Ridgecrest. Police say she ran off the road and her car flew. The recall petition against Kern High School trustees David Manriquez and Stephen Rodriguez may have lost a bit of its punch. According to Manriquez, the statement that says the trustees broke the public trust by voting to allow biological males to participate in high school female sports teams has been ordered taken out by the Kern County Superior Court.
I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
How can you grow your business from idea to industry leader with smart business buying tools and technology from Amazon Business? From fast free shipping to in-depth buying insights and automated.
How you doing?
Good, great. How are you?
Outstanding.
So
Got a good night's sleep last night for a change. Yeah. Yeah, I've been dragging. I got like 3 hours the night before. I went to bed at, I don't know. No, it felt great. I went to bed at like midnight and I got a spam call at like 4 a.m. and I couldn't get back to sleep. Yeah, it was weird. I do. Just in case my mom calls. Yeah. But yeah, it was weird. But I was in bed by 11, sleep by 12, up at 7. It was great. Uninterrupted 7 hours. What are we talking about today?
Well, today, Tuesdays, our Supreme Court, they released their cases today.
Yeah.
So they released a couple today, and one of them is about the post office.
The post office.
It's about the post office.
Did I give you a
The woman
headset?
in Texas got in a fight with the postal carrier, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And I thought that would be kind of fun to talk about.
This is a strange country. It really is.
But she beat it to the Supreme Court. Can you believe that? And she actually got the Stanford Constitutional Law Clinic actually represented her.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
That is crazy. You see, Robert Scrivener spoke up today, the boy.
I heard you mention it, but I don't know what he said. You want to
He
talk
just,
about it?
maybe talk about mental diversion at the very end. It's a Tuesday, which means our former federal magistrate judge and former Kern County counsel and now special counsel to Klein, DiMattelli, and Goldner, Teresa Goldner, is live in studio. For those subscribing on YouTube, how are you, Judge?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ralph?
I'm outstanding.
It
Really
feels
am.
weird not to have the headphones on, so.
I know, Chris.
No,
Where's their
Chris asked me
cans?
if I wanted them, and
Oh.
I said no,
You don't want
because
them?
I'm going to try it without it.
Okay.
'Cause-
That just means you can't hear Chris. That's the only thing.
Do I need to listen to Chris? Yeah, I like Chris. Well, if he says anything I need to know, you'll let me know.
I will indeed. I will
Okay,
indeed.
okay.
The Supreme Court, it's not the first Monday in October, but they set out some cases today.
That's right. The Supreme Court, they they release their cases usually on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And today they had 2 cases that they released. And one of them I thought was kind of interesting because it's something that affects every single person that gets mail. It has to do with the post office.
Postal workers.
So this is great. Have you ever had a beef with your postal carrier?
No, but I had a crush on one.
You did.
I did. I had a beautiful Asian postal person when I lived on 18th Street, when I lived at the New Yorker.
Did you flirt with her?
I tried.
She wasn't having it.
Quite unsuccessfully, yes. Yes, she was a nice woman.
Well, this is a case, has to do with the opposite of flirting. This is a case that comes from Texas, and it's a town. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I thought for sure it'd be Florida.
You know what? I thought so too. It's a town called Euless, Texas.
Euless, Texas. What part of Tejas is that?
I don't know. It's spelled E-U-L-E-S-S, Texas.
Never heard of it. Anybody want to chime in? Text us, call us, tell us where that is. I'd be interested.
Well, this case has to do with a woman who's named Levine Conan. And Levine, I think she's an older woman, or maybe she's up in years. She's sort of a woman of a
Clearly.
certain age like me.
No young woman takes her postal worker to court.
Well, I think she had a legitimate beef with her postal worker,
This
with her mailman.
ought to be rich.
So I want to set it up.
Please.
So she lives in Euless, and she owns 2 homes, and they're 1 block apart.
Okay.
And she rents rooms to tenants in the homes. And occasionally she will live in one of the homes herself or one of the rooms. She's very engaged, involved landlord.
Okay.
So there's a community mailbox that people can, they get their mail, just like a lot of, in Bakersfield, there's community
Most.
mailboxes. Do you have a community mailbox?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I've got one that just comes to the end of the driveway. But, community mailbox, everybody has a key, right? But you have a key to your own mailbox.
Sure.
So what happened here was the post office gave one of the keys to the mailbox to one of the tenants instead of to her. And she's supposed to have the key because she's the owner of the homes. So gave the key to the tenant, and under their local post office rules, I guess, whoever gets the mail has to be the owner of the house. So this postal carrier changed the name of the homeowner in the postal records to this tenant that he gave the key to. So Ms. Conan got mad and she went to the post office and she said, give me my key. This is my key. It's not the tenant's key. Turns out what she usually did was she would go and pick up the mail for all of her tenants, and then she would deliver it to each one of them herself. So she's, like I said, she was a very engaged, involved landlord.
Mrs. Kravitz.
This is Mrs. Conan.
From Bewitched.
So
Mrs.
anyway,
Kravitz, the nosy neighbor.
So she gets so mad. So the post office says, no, we're not going to give you the key. You have to prove that you're the owner of the houses. So she brought in the deeds. She proves that she's the owner of the house, and the postal guy still wouldn't give her the key. So she files, I think it's like 50 administrative claims with the post office, talking about how awful her post office is. And the postmaster said they're going to stop delivering the mail to her house because they think that she's harassing them, but also because they claim that they needed to investigate and determine who the proper owner is of the house. So they put it in slow motion, like determining who the owner of this house is, even though she says she proved it, that it's on the slow boat to China, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So she files all these claims and it turns into this big giant thing. And then the postal carrier started in the local post office, started marking all the letters to those two houses as undeliverable. So all these tenants weren't getting their mail and she wasn't getting her mail. So she started getting mad. I think she's a Black woman. She claimed she filed a lawsuit against the post office, against the postal carrier, against the state, against the employees, you name it. She sued a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And she sued them for intentional infliction of emotional distress. She sued them for $50,000 in damages. And she filed a civil rights action in federal courts. In federal court, she filed a civil rights claim because she claimed they were discriminating against her.
Is that why you thought she was Black?
Yeah, that's why.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but that's what I thought. So anyway, it goes to court and there's all this discovery done. It costs a lot of money to have a lawyer in federal court. Well, she got somehow, I don't know how, because I can't tell from the case, the Stanford Law School Constitutional Law Clinic got involved in this case and began to represent her. And that's a bunch of eager beaver law students, right, from Stanford who want to take this on. And occasionally that will happen. You can find law students that will help you from these different law schools. It goes to trial in the district court in Texas. And the district court says, no, the government is immune from, you can't sue the government. It's just like you can't sue the king, you can't sue the government. Well, there's something called the Federal Torts Claims Act. And that's where Congress has enacted this law. It's been around forever. And it says there are some kinds of cases that you can sue the federal government for. But in this case, there's something that they called a postal exception, which means you can sue other federal employees, but you can't sue the post office. And the words in the statute said that they retained you can sue them, but they retain their immunity, meaning you can't sue them for this, for all claims arising out of the loss, miscarriage, or negligent transmission of letters or postal matter. That's what the law says. Loss or miscarriage of letters or postal matter.
But not if it's deemed undeliverable, apparently.
Well, that's the issue. So the issue was, has this something that is subject to this postal exception, so she can't sue the post office, or this was an intentional act? This was this postal carrier who's out to get her and didn't want to help her in any way, shape, or form. And so, because this was an intentional act, she claims that it fell outside of that postal exception, and that because the postal exception was meant only for negligence by the post office. If they lose your letter or misplace it. I mean, have you ever lost mail?
Yes.
And did you ever get it back?
No.
Did you care that you lost it?
No, I just contacted the people I was expecting it from, and they sent.
It didn't cost you any money?
No.
Well, Ms. Conan sued for $50,000. This turned into a much bigger lawsuit. she claims that she lost rental income because of all of this, that she couldn't.
Yeah, people would want them to get out of here. If I
Right.
can't get my mail, I'm not going to live here.
That's what she said. Tenants left. She couldn't rent it to anybody because nobody could get their mail. And so she wanted her day in court and she wanted her $50,000 and she wanted to prove that she was right. So she goes to the court in Texas, the trial court. The federal court judge rules in her favor and says, you know what? This postal exception does not apply to, no, ruled against her, said that it did apply to this, to both intentional and unintentional acts. And so he dismissed her case. He threw it out because this doesn't matter if they intentionally tear up your mail, if they intentionally lose it, if they intentionally misplace it, or if they just intentionally don't give it to you. According to this trial judge, it still falls within the postal exception of the Federal Tort Claims Act. Well, of course, she didn't like that. So she appeals to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. And the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals rules in her favor. And I mean, this takes years. This has been going on forever. So the Fifth Circuit says, you know what, you're right. Intentional acts, the government should not be immune from being sued for things that they do intentionally like this, including the post office. So if they intentionally lose your mail or tear it up or keep it from you, you can sue them. So
Makes sense.
she was very happy with that. And then, of course, the government was not happy with that. So then it gets appealed to the United States Supreme Court. And the Solicitor General who's representing the Supreme Court, he's the one that, Mr. Sauer, he's the one that represents the government in most of the cases before the United States.
Right.
He notes to the court how we have what's called a split in the circuits, which means the Fifth Circuit says there's no immunity, meaning you can sue the post office. And the First and the Second Circuit say there is immunity. And whenever you have different federal courts saying different things, that's grounds for the court to actually to take a case for the Supreme Court to resolve the conflict.
Right.
And so that's what they did. This case went all the way up, and it had an oral argument several months ago, and they came out with their decision today. And how do you think the Supreme Court ruled? Do you think
They definitely ruled in her favor.
in her favor?
Yes.
Now tell me why you think that, Ralph.
Because I think this is outside the statute. I think they intentionally withheld her mail, and that's a very serious offense because you're talking about bills or information from family, or I mean, your whole life runs through your mail.
That's right.
And so, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, I would think. I can't believe that it took the Supreme Court to settle it.
Who's your favorite justice on the Supreme Court right now?
My favorite justice on the Supreme Court is only Amy Coney Barrett.
Really?
Yes.
Who's your second favorite?
Neil Gorsuch.
Who's your third favorite?
Um,
Neil Gorsuch is my favorite right now.
My third favorite, maybe Sam Alito.
Oh, wow.
school.
So you like all you like well,
conservative
except for
judges.
Amy Coney Barrett, you like the real conservative justices.
Hey, you don't think Amy Coney Barrett's conservative?
I think she is, but she's kind of flips around a lot.
That's what I like
she
about
did
her.
in the tariff case.
Exactly.
So
That's what I like about her.
she's not reliably
afraid.
conservative.
Exactly. She's not afraid to stand up to Trump
She
or
calls
say
him,
no to Trump.
calls him the way she sees him.
Exactly. That's
Well,
why she's my favorite.
Who do you think is the most conservative justice on the court right now?
Either Alito or Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas is, I think, probably the most conservative.
Clearly. The man from Savannah, Georgia, my mother's hometown.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Did
Yeah.
your mom know him?
No.
Well, you never know.
They
might have
are,
lived there
they
at
are about the same
time.
age, actually.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they're both in their early 80s. I
Well,
think he's in the 80s.
Justice Thomas wrote this opinion, and it is long. It's
Is it?
over 30 pages long.
But they did agree with the
And-
woman, did they not?
And Justice Sotomayor dissented,
Well, of course she did.
and-
She's my least, her and Kagan are my least favorite.
and Thomas ruled for the post office.
Of course he did.
He
Good
ruled
Savannah
that,
boy.
he ruled that that's the way the statute reads, and we interpret statutes, we have all these rules about how we interpret statutes, including what the plain meaning of the words in the statute are. And he said clearly and plainly that when you talk about a loss or miscarriage or negligent transmission, that includes intentional and unintentional. Because if it was, if they meant to separate it out and treat them differently, they would have said so in the statute.
Right.
So it took him a lot of pages to basically say she loses and the post office wins. So that means that she lost this case. They claimed that the Supreme Court ruled that the postal exception applies to intentional
destruction of mail.
Really?
Yeah.
She lost.
She lost all the
On
way up.
what vote? What number was the vote?
Oh, the vote was, I think it was 5-4.
That is horrible.
Yeah, let's see. Thomas delivered the opinion. Roberts, the chief judge, and Alito, Kavanaugh, and Barrett all joined in that opinion. And then the dissenters were Sotomayor, Kagan, Gorsuch, and Jackson. So 5-4. Post office wins on that. Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
It's a crazy
And Neil
result.
is no longer one of my favorites.
I wondered if he was after that.
That's crazy. Wait
Yeah.
now. Kagan,
It was the
Gorsuch, Sotomayor,
and
Jackson,
those four.
and who's the fifth?
Well, those are the ones that voted. That was the losing side.
Oh, they supported it.
Right. Well, no, they said that the exception does not apply. Therefore, she should be able to sue the post office and she should be able to recover damages.
Okay, now Neil's back on my good
Right.
side.
And the majority said that no, the exception does apply, and therefore she cannot sue the post office, and she cannot get damages if they steal your mail, if they
And the
they
Chief
lose your
Justice,
mail. Yeah,
the Chief Justice signed off on that?
That's right. That's right. They did. And
That is shocking.
but this is what you call statutory interpretation. So they actually interpreted two words in this statute, what it means loss and what does miscarriage mean. And Thomas said, miscarriage means you had to have carriage in the first place, meaning it had to get delivered there in the first place. And this was never delivered there in the first place. And then loss, he said, could be intentional or unintentional. So he completely ruled against her and ruled in favor of the post office.
That's why I couldn't have been a lawyer. Because that makes no sense.
I thought it was a little crazy too, but that's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because it's funny how you can get really wrapped up in what the meaning of words are and how you are going to interpret a statute. And you can have really smart people on either side of the issue looking at it completely differently.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you have in this case over something as simple as, what does loss or miscarriage of letters mean? Does it mean intentional and unintentional, or just unintentional? So, and it kind of ties into what we talked about last week about the tariff case, or last Friday. You had all the different justices that had their different opinions. There was a very long 170-page opinion, and they all were interpreting what the words of the statute meant. And you can have different opinions, even with really super smart people, like people on the Supreme Court.
That's insane.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is interesting. And
you look like you were very bored in that conversation.
No, that is crazy. And I wonder what she's doing now.
I don't know.
You can't change post offices.
Well, she found out this morning that she lost. So we'll see what she does.
I feel so bad for that.
I'm sure that she'll probably have a press conference, and maybe the Stanford Law School Constitutional Law Clinic will have a press conference with her and they can explain it. But
did they do the work pro bono?
Usually they do the work pro bono. There's usually a professor that supervises what they do. So because you got to have a lawyer who's admitted to the Supreme Court.
Maybe that was the problem. You got students helping out. You needed some seasoned lawyers.
No. You got to have lawyers. Not only do you have to have lawyers, you have to have lawyers that are admitted to practice before the Supreme Court.
That's
not everybody can do that.
You don't need young, new attorneys. You needed a seasoned veteran.
You need veterans.
Going up against the Solicitor General.
You need people that know federal court law. You need people that know civil procedure.
Wow.
And you got to have to have somebody sponsor you if you want to practice in front of the Supreme Court. Somebody has to sponsor you to be admitted into the court. Someone who's already been admitted into the court. So there's a lot of rules to be able to appear in front of the Supreme Court.
That's insane. That depresses me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to depress you.
I feel bad for that woman. She's having a bad day today.
Another case that's coming up, but we'll have time to talk about it. And it's coming up for oral argument. And I think it's going to be really fascinating, is the birthright citizenship case. April 1st, April Fool's Day, is the birthright citizenship oral argument.
And normally, under normal circumstances, I would say it's a slam dunk. There's no way in the world they're going to deny birthright citizenship. But now, I'm not so sure.
I think you're going to
I'm not so sure.
I think you're going to get a real split decision among the justices.
Well, clearly.
Yeah, I definitely think you are. And I think it's going to be the conservative bloc. I don't know how it's going to end up, but I think it's going to be pretty tight.
I think one of the 4 or 5 or 6 will break. I think Amy Coney Barrett will probably break.
She might make the difference.
Yeah. She's like the new Who was the big fixer in the 90s and the 80s?
Well, before Kennedy,
Kennedy
Yeah,
was
Kennedy.
always the swing guy.
you know,
And
he
I
was
think now
from,
it's going to be Amy.
he was from Sacramento.
Is that right?
Yeah, I actually got to meet him a couple times.
Is that
He was
right?
a really, really, really nice man. You know who I got to meet that I was the most impressed with?
Who's that?
Chief Justice Roberts. I got to meet him 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
He is,
The man who gave us Obamacare.
I know, but he is such a delightful person. You
Yeah.
would be so impressed if you met him, Ralph. He's amazing.
Did you meet him while he was a Supreme Court judge?
Yes, I met him at the Ninth Circuit Conference where, not all the justices, but several justices usually attend every year. And most of the federal court judges do that too. And it's a big conference. It's held every year, and all of the states that are part of the conference, federal judges in those states go to it. And that's where I met him. But I met him at a barbecue. He was wearing blue jeans.
At a barbecue?
Yes.
Really?
He was great. And then there was also square dancing, and my mom got to meet Sandra Day O'Connor out on the square dance floor. That was really fun.
Really?
Yes. So
I loved her. She was one of my all-time favorite.
Was she really?
Yes.
She was pretty nice. She was. I was really proud to be able to introduce my daughter to her.
Have you ever heard the story of a running back by the name of John Riggins?
No.
John Riggins was a great football player for the Washington Redskins, and he was a bit of a wild card, to say the least. And it was some dinner, it might have been the White House Correspondents' Dinner, because everybody goes to that, but it was some event where he was at the table with Sandra Day O'Connor and had no idea who she was and was drunk as a skunk. And
now, was she a young Sandra Day O'Connor then?
This was early. It was during the Reagan administration, very early, when he was on top of his game, because I think they won the Super Bowl in what, 84, 85, 84, 83, 83. 83. The Redskins won the Super Bowl. And so he was at the top of his game. He was the MVP of that game. And he walks up to the table drunk as a skunk and says, they introduce him and he goes, "Hiya, Sandy, baby." And then at one point of the night, as the story goes,
she can handle that.
He literally was underneath the table, drunk as a skunk.
Did he pass out?
Yes, underneath the table.
I hope he didn't fall over on her feet or anything.
Something to that effect. Yes, yes. John Riggins was quite a character.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that was interesting. Teresa Golder is our guest, and she is every Tuesday. Later on this afternoon, we're going to get into SB 1373. State Senator Shannon Grove is trying to get guardrails on mental diversion. What are your thoughts on this, and what are the chances of her getting it through a liberal legislature?
I probably small.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring.
But I have not read the proposed legislation, so I don't know what the statute says.
Yeah, neither have I.
But I do know, in my opinion, that it does need to be changed.
Absolutely.
Because it is far too broad, and I think it is being abused in some places. Whether or not this was an abuse, I'm not going to weigh in on.
It was not.
I mean,
it was not. And that's the only thing I was disappointed in the senator today, because she's right. Jasmine Baines is right, although she's doing it much more theatrically than Shannon Grove did. Senator Grove basically just broke down what happened that night, then turned it over to Christina, and then turned it over to Robert, their 18-year-old son, who showed remarkable courage for a teenager.
He spoke at the press conference?
Told his story at the press conference.
Do you mind telling me?
You want to hear? You want to hear the audio?
Sure.
Chris, let's. This is Robert Scrivener. We're going to play this at 5 when we get into it.
I don't have my headphones on.
Oh, you don't have your headphones on.
Well, that's okay.
Well, here, we'll just listen in.
Okay.
Just leave it right there. Go ahead.
My own father, who is an elected official in Kern County, assaulted my siblings and myself and was granted mental health diversion. Our case was a clear example of our flawed system. Because of my own experience, I feel compelled to speak out, not just to address my own hardships, but to protect present and future victims.
That took courage.
That really did.
That really did.
That's tough.
Because that is a night that he and his siblings will never forget. And Zach has apparently not made contact with his children. He sent not a quarter to Christina in support of his children. And to me, that's the boat. But the point I was getting at is that Senator Grove made no allusions to the Attorney General's office. That's where the issue lies. Them sending Joseph Penny down here to rattle sabers with H.A. Sala. B, not ever challenging Salah's forensic psychologist, making no rebuttal or refuting his assertion that Zach was nutsy cuckoo. What else was the judge to do? And the fact that that's not being highlighted is incredible to me, because that's the issue. Yes, we need to put some guardrails on mental diversion, but the AG's office specifically picked a charge that they knew would give him a lane for mental diversion.
But maybe they picked that charges that they did because they didn't feel there was evidence to get a guilty
Then
verdict.
don't slam your shoe on the desk complaining then. Take your loss and move on.
Do you
How
think,
can you complain if you're saying, I can't prove a sexual charge, and then say, wait a minute, why is he getting mental diversion? Because you didn't charge him. You didn't even rebut the one doctor involved.
but you shouldn't, I don't think a district attorney should base their filing decisions based on whether or not it's going to let somebody go into mental health diversion. That should not be the basis for them to decide what to charge people on. It should be what the evidence proves, or what they think they can prove when they go to trial beyond a reasonable doubt. And maybe here they didn't think they could prove the sex charges against, if they were to allege that against him, maybe they didn't feel they could do that beyond a reasonable doubt.
How could they feel that after what you just heard from the 18-year-old boy who's one of the 4 witnesses?
Did he say his father sexually assaulted?
Did you? We can play it again for you.
Let's do it.
Is it going? Are these going too fast for you, Terry?
I didn't hear it say sexual assault. I heard him say assault, not sexual assault.
Let's play it again. Oh, I gotta take this off.
Okay, I'm gonna be really embarrassed now if I.
My own father, who is an elected official in Kern County, assaulted my siblings and myself and was granted mental health diversion.
Okay, you're right.
There you go.
All right.
There's a difference in the law between assault and a sexual assault.
Well, then why complain then? Why all this theatrics?
Well, they shouldn't
Why all this
complain.
slamming the shoe on the desk and
They shouldn't complain.
filing appeals and whatnot?
What Mr. Sala did was entirely consistent
Exactly.
with what the law allows under that statute, period. There's nothing unusual about it. And that's the problem, is the way that statute is worded. There are so many mental health conditions that can qualify somebody for even depression. Just being depressed is grounds to get a mental health diversion under that statute. And as long as you can show by way of whatever evidence you can bring in, a witness, a forensic psychologist, anything, a report, just like H.A. Sala did, show that the reason that the act that you did that constituted the alleged crime was related to, in a significant way, that underlying mental health condition.
You're too nice.
That's the way it reads.
You're too nice. I think they laid down. I think they absolutely laid down. Because you've got to at least bring in another physician to refute Salah's guy. At
clearly.
minimum.
That's where you and I agree.
Okay.
They
very
should have
good.
done that.
Absolutely.
And they didn't do it.
Teresa Golder!
This is AM 1180 KERN. Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM. Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
Sure, they were.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump will address the nation in his State of the Union speech this evening. House Speaker Mike Johnson says President Trump and Republicans have achieved measurable success on behalf of Americans.
We're putting more money back in your pockets. We're restoring peace through strength. We're defending our border and deporting criminal illegal aliens. We're standing up for American industry and manufacturing. And we're making American workers, not foreign countries, the clear winners in this American economy. Those are not talking points. That is what we have delivered. It's called Republican results. And we are proud to run on that message in this fateful midterm election year.
The address begins this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger will give the Democrats' response immediately following the president's address. It's a snow removal day for the Northeast, and none too soon. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Neighbors, government workers, and a powerful railroad snow-clearing machine named Darth Vader are scrambling to dig out the northeastern United States from a brutal snowstorm. As the snow moves northward and tapers off in other areas, forecasters are warning that another storm could be right around the corner. Meteorologists are calling Monday's storm the strongest in a decade. It dumped more than 2 feet of snow, canceling thousands of flights. Now, roads are beginning to reopen, mass transportation is coming back online, and power has returned for some of the hundreds of thousands who had lost electricity. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Yes,
On
ma'am,
Wall
you
Street
too.
today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 370 points. The Nasdaq rose 236,
That's when
with
they're
the
making the
S&P
decision.
500 index advancing by 52 points. More
Here.
on these stories at townhall.com.
Okay, good. Yeah, well,
If you're like most
Right, we might
Americans
hear-
nearing retirement with money in a
I would
401k
assume
or IRA,
this would
then
be a
listen carefully.
no-brainer.
The U.S. dollar is under pressure. Foreign nations are reducing reliance on the dollar, and some analysts are openly warning about the long-term stability of U.S.
Yeah.
currency dominance.
What do you
Whether
think
you
my-
call it currency debasement or the collapse of the dollar, the
Yeah.
risk is real.
What
And
do you
when
think my
confidence in the
theory
U.S. hit, you'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our
I
Dollar,
think
Your
you're waiting,
Problem.
obviously.
Most American retirement accounts are dramatically underallocated to precious metals, even as central banks continue buying gold at record levels. Many Americans are rolling over a portion of their retirement savings
why I
into
say
physical gold and silver,
every
tax
day.
and penalty free with
Listen,
Advantage
these
Gold.
terms are
Call
important.
Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
April
From the
15th.
KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
The name of a murdered woman revealed after nearly a half century.
Really?
I'm Chris Davis. That woman's body was found in the parking lot of Westlake High School
loved
in Ventura County in 1980, and police say she was killed by the same person who killed Shirley Sose near Delano in Kern County. Thanks to the Jane Doe DNA Project, she's been ID'd as 22-year-old Maricela Rocha Parga, who was 4 months pregnant when she was killed and whose family reported her missing when she didn't show up for a gathering, reports KGET. You might remember a fire on Glacier Drive in the Fraser Park area back on February 7th. The woman who was killed in the fire has been ID'd by the Kern County Coroner's Office as 66-year-old Margaret Ann Hinrichs. The coroner's office also ID'd the woman killed in a Friday wreck on Highway 14 near Cantle as 50-year-old Christy Lynn Vivian of Ridgecrest. Police say she ran off the road and her car flipped about 8:30. A little bit of relief for the detainees at the Lerdo jail. They don't have to be taken somewhere else to have their showers, and that's less of a security risk. That's thanks to some filters that were installed in the showers. The water right now is considered not safe for drinking, showering, or much else, because last week trace amounts of diesel were found during testing. The water tanks are getting a thorough cleaning, says the Sheriff's Department. A couple of people who will be guests at tonight's State of the Union speech were invited by representatives from California. Representative Robert Garcia, a Democrat, has invited Annie Farmer, the sister of Jeffrey Epstein survivor Maria Farmer, and Representative Ro Khanna, also a Democrat, invited survivor Haley Robson. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think? This is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get up close like this. Little bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180
Now
KERN.
make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 24th day of February. Got lots to do. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, gubernatorial candidate, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco will join us, along with Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. Coming up at the 5, you'll hear from Robert Scrivener as Senator Shannon Grove attempts to get SB 1373, putting guardrails on mental diversion programs. You will hear from Zach Scrivener's 18-year-old son. And our Black History Month moment focuses on astronaut, chemist, mathematician Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space. In the meantime, let's check the board, see what you all are talking about. What do you got, Chris?
Somebody's actually told us where that city in Texas is. It's a couple miles southwest of DFW International Airport.
Been there many, many times. It was kind of a stop off on our way to Atlanta when I was a child, whenever we would fly back to see my grandparents. And I once sat next to Charlie Rose at DFW. I was going to the 88 convention, as was he. And we sat and chatted for about half an hour, 45 minutes. I told him I was a young reporter. He asked where I worked, and I happened to have some clips with me, just in case I ran into an editor in Atlanta. I was trying to get a job in Atlanta while I was down there. And do you guys remember Charlie Rose? He was on ABC. He was an anchor and had a show for a while. He was a really nice man. We sat for a long while and chit-chatted at DFW. So it's southwest of DFW. Southwest. So it's on the other side. Okay. It's on the other side. I almost moved to Texas. I've told you guys that story. When I was on television, I got a news director out of Tyler, Texas. His wife was from here, and they were coming to a wedding, and he saw me anchoring the weekend news and invited me to Tyler. I went down there, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. They were going to make me the 5 o'clock anchor, and I was going to be the 6 and 11 live guy. And I almost took it just so I could anchor for 5 days, because one of the things as a weekend anchor, you never get good, because you never get into a rhythm. Your Saturday shows kind of, you haven't done it in 5 days, a week, and you're just kind of stumbling, trying to get on, on board. And then Sundays, you have great shows, because I was a weekend anchor at 23 and 29. And at 29, we had 3 weekend shows. We had we had 4. We had a 5, a 6, a 10, and an 11. Am I lying? I think I'm lying. I think we just had a 6, 10, and 11 because we were on Fox as well. And so Sunday night, that 11 o'clock show is your best show. And then you don't do it again until next Saturday. And so going to Tyler was going to give me an opportunity to anchor 5 days a week as the 5 o'clock guy. And it was tempting. I remember I went to Mark Olish, and he said, who was married to Cindy Pollard's sister. They moved to Tampa. But I asked Mark, because he was the smartest guy in the newsroom then. Mike Hart was still a sports anchor at the time. And I asked Mark, I said, what do you think I ought to do? I told him what kind of money. I was making a little more money than I was making here. And he said, I can't tell you what to do, Ralph, but I'll be honest with you. I'll be straight with you. It's kind of a lateral move. I think we're like a 150 market. They're like a 130. And he said, but you get to anchor if that's what you want to do. And I go, actually, that's not what I want to do. I hate anchoring. I don't think I'm very good at it. And I didn't want to do it. And I turned it down. Did you know Tyler, Texas is where Earl Campbell is from, and that it is a dry county, which I've never understood. Like in Atlanta, you can't buy booze on Sunday, but you can go to Bennigan's Tavern and get drunk as a skunk. And Tyler, Texas was a dry county. You could not buy booze in Tyler, Texas, or the county, but you could get these cards that you had to present at restaurants to drink. It was really strange. And no, I didn't make my decision because it was a dry county. It was kind of a lateral move. And I was going to be in Texas, with the weather and whatnot. What else you got, Chris?
Ralph, if you were going to the State of the Union, what would you say? Should Democrats interrupt Trump like you saw Republicans interrupting Biden, or yell out at Trump, you lie, like South Carolina Joe Wilson did?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you were fair about it, because that's where it began during the Obama administration, and Wilson standing up and screaming at Obama, I believe. And if I've got the person wrong and the situation wrong, it began with Obama. That was the first time we ever saw that, where somebody stood up and interrupted a president during a State of the Union. I'm old school. As I've talked about all week, you show up. And that is in reference as well to the women's hockey team. You do not say no to the president of the United States. I don't care who he is. You don't say no to the president. There's an old phrase, I serve at the leisure of the president. Well, I think every citizen should look at it like that, no matter who he is. And decorum in 2026? Are you kidding? You don't think one of the Democrats are going to act a fool at some point in this 2.5 hours speech we're going to hear tonight? Of course they are. They're going to boo. They're going to make noise. They probably got signs. They got some gimmick. They got 50 of them that are going to the mall with in front of Abe with Joy Reid, of all people, one of the most despicable human beings on the planet. But you don't think they're going to act a fool tonight? Are you kidding me? I was watching Abby Phillip last night, and they had a couple of Congress members on, and one of them's from Washington. She's an African American woman that got her master's from Atlanta Clark University. It's one of the HBCUs in Atlanta, right across the street from Morehouse College, and she's not going. And I just don't understand that. I really don't. You have a responsibility to be there. This thing started with George Washington. You don't have to clap, as you didn't when Laken Riley's mother was in the audience and they made reference to her. And the hockey team's going to be there. That's going to be a good moment for America. I just hope that the president doesn't do what the president does, and that's overspeak his hand and say that we're enjoying the greatest economy ever. And, you know, he's going to make allusions to 2020, and he's going to, you know, I'm going to count literally, I'll tell you tomorrow how many times he references Joe Biden, which I think is a mistake. Winners don't live their lives in the rearview mirror. And making allusions to 2020 and Joe Biden after a year of being in the White House is just finger pointing and obfuscating responsibility. This is your country now, Mr. President. This is your White House. This is your DOJ. This is your DHS. This is your FBI director. It all falls on you. The buck stops with you. And if we've learned anything from presidents, we've learned that presidents who take that responsibility win. They're admired by the citizens of America. I've always referenced the Bay of Pigs in 1961, one of the greatest political debacles in the history of this country, literally, where John Kennedy left about 1,500 Cuban refugees hanging because the CIA cooked up this thing when Eisenhower was in office to take back Cuba from Fidel Castro, who had overcome Batista in 1959. And it was part of Kennedy's agreement, in my opinion, with the mob to get them back in Cuba. I reference Godfather 2 if you don't know history. And it was a humongous failure. And Kennedy went before a humongous core of the White House press and said, it's my fault. It's absolutely my fault. When he absolutely could have laid it totally on the CIA. And that was the beginning of his death, if you ask me. Because, as you know, I believe the CIA and the mafia teamed up to kill the president. The CIA, because A, he had just fired, after the Bay of Pigs, Alan Dulles, the long-time, which the airport is named after, the long-time CIA director. I think he was CIA director since like the 40s, like literally during Roosevelt's tenure, all the way up until in the 1960s. And Kennedy fired him and was going to break apart the CIA because he knew nothing about this trap that they set for him. It was going to force him to use air power on Cuba and possibly kill Cuban citizens and possible Russian citizens. And now you're looking at another Cuban Missile Crisis. And yet he stood up and his numbers went up. He stood up and said it was my fault, and his numbers went up at one of the greatest political foreign policy failures in American history. And no president has learned from that. They really haven't. They obfuscate, they finger point, they, what? Never heard of the Bay of Pigs. And it's just not the way to go. And I just hope the president doesn't follow in those footsteps. Who you got? We got to take a break. Who you got?
Dan is on the line.
Dan, you're on the Ralph Bailey Show.
Well, you touched on it. It's the Giancana crime family out of Chicago. If you've never seen it, check out the documentary on a guy named James Files, Charles Nicoletti, and Johnny Roselli, handsome Johnny Roselli, Hollywood guy,
the LA boy,
fighting with the mob, triangulation, the crossfire, all of it all checks out.
And Carlos Marcellus down in New Orleans.
Anybody who's curious, you look up Johnny Roselli because he touched on Bay of Pigs. This is confirmed. CIA, Johnny Roselli worked for the CIA to train the guys in Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, the Cuban refugees. Yep. And
it's all connected.
Yeah, E. Howard Hunt was involved in that out of Watergate before Nixon got elected. He was involved in that as well. It was supposed to be the return of Batista, and it was an absolute failure. And I think that was the beginning of the end of John Kennedy. I really do.
Yep. And they were contracting those guys, and they just use them as plausible deniability. And for a long time, a lot of us wanted to kind of, that couldn't happen. It couldn't happen here. But it's obvious at this point.
Yeah. And some of those guys were involved with Howard Hunt in the Watergate break-in. They were part of the 6 or 7 guys that were like 3 or 4 Cuban exiles that were arrested with Howard Hunt and Gordon Liddy.
And of course, who did Woodward work for before that? Right, he was tied into the CIA, and he was a naval officer and all that. Bob Woodward.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a communications guy. Thanks for the call, Dan. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Rob.
All right, buddy. Take care. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we come back. We'll get into the situation involving Congressman Tony Gonzalez. No, the tight end for the Chiefs hasn't run for Congress. Another guy out of Texas. He allegedly had an affair with one of his staffers, and she committed suicide. Wait till you hear how she took her own life. That's what garnered this so much attention. And now Lauren Boebert and other members of the Republican Party are telling Gonzalez, despite the numbers in the House, where there is a one-person majority, literally, they're telling him to resign. Johnson is meeting with him tonight after the State of the Union, but there is growing pressure as this guy faces a primary in just a couple of weeks. In fact, they're voting now in Texas, and the primary ends in a couple of weeks. We'll delve into that. And then in just a couple of minutes, don't go anywhere, gubernatorial candidate, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco joins us, along with our very own Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. We'll do that at 4:35. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. We stream live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180.
Adaptive.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with a friend, Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox from the Californian will join us to administer the news quiz, and we'll back all of it up with state-of-the-art news, traffic, and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Business owners, how many times have you called your IT company and felt like just another ticket number? Well, we can attest, those of us here at American General Media, just how fast reacting the folks at Adaptive Networks are, because they provide all of our IT needs as well. You should. Call them today at 661-241-0638 or hit them online at adaptive-net.com. At Adaptive Networks, exceptional customer service isn't just a promise, it's how they do business every single day. And when you call, you're going to actually talk to a real person who knows your name, understands your business, and genuinely cares about solving your problems. No phone trees, no runaround, no attitude. And again, you know what I keep telling you guys, as a radio station, we depend on our IT. And that's why we depend on the folks at Adaptive Networks. Call them today, 661-241-0638. That's 241-0638. Or hit them online at adaptive-net.com.
Look up in the sky. Yeah, that's what they cry. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's them. It's Paul Sheldon's team, that well-oiled machine of Christine, Kelly,
Why is it
and
so
Lynn.
dark?
Okay, not superpowers, but still thousands of them.
JR dimmed it.
Why?
It just looks better on the video.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, because when it's bright, it like shines too bright at times during his show or something. It just looks kind of better when it's dim like that.
Yeah.
But again, I know it's tough for you to read though. I'm assuming.
A little bit. I'm okay.
Many, they are superheroes. Christine, Kelly, and Lynn.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Are the rising waters of expenses and debt threatening to drown you? Many people try to stay afloat by borrowing more money or using debt settlement programs, but those can take years. If you're trapped under credit card debt, medical bills, payday loans, or buy now, pay later plans, Chapter 7 bankruptcy could free you much sooner, in about 4 months and for a fraction of the cost. Stop the harassing calls and letters, rebuild your credit quickly, and clear the way for a fresh start. At Clean Slate BK Group, consumer Chapter 7 bankruptcies are all we do. We can help you erase credit card debt, medical bills, personal loans, even past due utility bills. Find out if you qualify at no cost and with no obligation. Go to csbk.com. This is an attorney advertisement. Your results may vary, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Clean Slate BK Group PC, located at 7 Penn Plaza, Suite 601, New York, 10001, is responsible for the content of this ad. For more information, visit csbk.com. That's csbk.com. Your clean slate starts here.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERS.
So the pressure is mounting on Congressman Tony Gonzalez, no relation, and it's not the tight end from the Kansas City Chiefs, who I think is the greatest tight end ever. I think he's better than Travis Kelce. I think he's better than Antonio Gates. I think he's better than Kittle. I think he's better than Ertz. I think he's the most athletic. He's a former basketball player who kind of stumbled into football. He actually wanted to be in the NBA, but it's Cal Berkeley kid, as a matter of fact. But this Tony Gonzalez is a beleaguered congressman out of Texas who is up for re-election in a couple of weeks. And he allegedly had an affair with a young woman by the name of Regina Santos Avalos. And this was back in May of 2024. This became public knowledge when her husband discovered text messages between the congressman and his wife. And what has blown this up, no, seriously, no pun intended, but it is the manner in which his wife later took her life. She engulfed herself in flames. She did that famous Vietnam video. Have you seen that? Are you too young to remember that? Or see that?
I've seen it, unfortunately.
Where he's sitting in Indian style. And you know what? This is a funny story off the highway. But it was what Richard Pryor was watching when he set himself on fire. He and a buddy who tells the story, Richard, I don't think really has addressed it. He addressed it in one of his concerts, but he didn't get into the details. He kind of joked about it, obviously. But there's a famous video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, of a Vietnam man during the war who was sitting what they used to call Indian style. I'm sure that's inappropriate for 2026, but he's sitting on the ground and he engulfs himself in flames. And the story goes, the buddy goes, "Can you believe he did that?" And Pryor says, "That's nothing. He's not moving. That's the thing." And it is amazing to watch this man engulfed in flames and just sitting there on fire. I mean, of all the ways to die, it's either that or stabbing, I've always said, must be just the worst way to die. That's stabbing and drowning. It's got to be the worst way to die because you know you're dead before you're dead. And that's what's caused all this attention. And Manu Raju, I think one of the better reporters, if not the best reporter at CNN, caught up with him in one of my favorite rooms in DC, the rotunda, as they're walking through. Because if you've never been to the House, there are congressmen. We go with Honor Flight, we bump into CNN reporters, ABC, NBC, congressmen, senators just walking through the rotunda, walking through that area. And Manu Raju caught up with Gonzalez. And if this doesn't sound like a guilty man, I don't know what does.
No. Are those text messages correct? Are they accurate?
I am not going to resign. I work every day. I work every day for the people of Texas.
But are those text messages? Are they accurate? Are those real text messages?
I am not going to resign. I'm not going to resign. I work every day for the people of Texas.
Did you carry it?
And there will be an opportunity for all the details and facts to come out. What you've seen is not all the facts.
Did you have an extramarital affair with the staff?
What you've seen is not all the facts, and there'll be an ample time for all of that to come out.
What are the facts? Can you address it right now? Your constituents want to know.
My constituents are not here in DC. My constituents are back home in Texas.
I mean, do you see why I need to go in the consulting business? Really? That's the answer you have prepared? Like, when you hear these people say something so ridiculously stupid, you think what first comes to my mind is, like, this just got sprung on them. Like he didn't wake up knowing, I'm going to have to answer some questions. This is going to be first topic if I bump into any reporter during my day's work. And he's just through the rotunda, and here comes Manawaju, and that's the best answer you have? Congressman, he didn't ask you if you were resigning. He asked you if the text messages that her husband, her widower, after she engulfed herself in flames, the text messages that he alleged he found, are they real? I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting. I go to work every day. But are they real? Did you have an affair with this woman? And you know why I know he's guilty? Because a normal human being would have said, it's a tragedy. I'm still not over the fact that I lost a staffer, and certainly in the manner in which she took her own life. I'm just shaken up. I have condolences to her family, but I'm not going to talk about this right now. Instead, it's all about me. It's all about me. And it's all about obfuscating the question and circumventing and I'm not leaving. I didn't ask you that. And that's why it's a good thing I never made it to the national level, because I would have been such a cocky, aggressive, arrogant reporter. I would have been like, I did not ask you that. Are you not going to answer the question? Did you or did you not have an affair with this woman? And are you not going to say anything about her death? You have nothing to say to her family? You lost a staffer, sir, and all you're concerned about is the fact that you show up every day and you're not going to resign? That's how you know he's guilty. Because anybody with a clear heart would have mentioned the death of this woman and how sad and tragic it is and how bad you feel for the family. But no. Not for these Congress members who get to go to Washington and become multimillionaires. This guy, that's what he's thinking. Why do you think these people want to stay in power? It's not about power. I used to think it was about power and leverage. No, it's not. It's about money. It's about staying around long enough in D.C. where you can leave with a $10, $15 million portfolio. How are all these people multimillionaires when they come in? They're rich. They're all rich coming to Congress. There's no middle-class member of our society going to D.C. Let's be blunt. But these people who were making jobs back in their district, making 150, 200 grand, after about 10 years in D.C., they walk away with $12, $15 million. That's what it's all about. As my late father used to say, 8 questions out of 10 can be answered with the simple word money. Money. That guy is guilty as sin and should be forced out by the Republican Party. Wouldn't that be a great gesture to bipartisanship if the speaker said, no, you got to go. You're right behind George Santos, my friend. Get the hell out of the U.S. House. Quick time out. We transition to the highlight of the broadcast. No disrespect to Teresa Goldner. We've got a gubernatorial candidate joining us. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and our Sheriff Donnie Youngblood join us next.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump will use tonight's State of the Union address to champion his immigration crackdowns, his slashing of the federal government, his push to preserve widespread tariffs that the Supreme Court just struck down, and his ability to direct quick-hit military actions around the world, including in Iran and Venezuela. Warner Brothers Discovery said that Paramount has raised the price of its takeover bid to $31 per share, potentially setting the stage for a fresh bidding war with Netflix over the future of the Hollywood giant. The company previously offered $30 per share when it first went directly to Warner's stakeholders with its all-cash hostile bid in December. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 370 points. The Nasdaq rose 236. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Chris Davis. A woman murdered in 1980 by the same person who killed Shirley Sosay in Kern County has been identified thanks to the Jane Doe DNA Project. The body of 22-year-old Maricela Rocha Parga was 4 months pregnant when she was killed in Ventura County. 2 representatives from California have invited guests to tonight's State of the Union speech. Representative Ro Khanna invited Epstein survivor Haley Robson And Representative Robert Garcia has invited Annie Farmer, the sister of Epstein survivor Maria Farmer. It's World Spay Day, and Kern County Animal Services has a goal of spaying at least 200 pets. They've lowered the price to $20 for people who live in some areas of Kern County. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Progressive Insurance knows pets, and one of the biggest differences between people and pets is that we don't eat things off the floor. But dogs definitely will, and it makes them so happy, no matter what it looks like, smells like, or what state of decomposition it's in. We all want to go through life that carefree. And that's also why you should get Progressive Pet Insurance, because they eat things off the floor. So protect your pet from all the questionable life decisions they make. You know where they drink from when you're gone, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
4:30.
If you love to travel, Capital
Lisa
One has
Kelly.
a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the
Yeah,
Capital
isn't
One
that
Venture
crazy?
X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits
both?
at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, quite a State of the Union speech from President Trump. We will break down all of the high points for you, including his new national security strategy, the focus on the economy, what he's got planned for border enforcement and immigration, and so much more. It's post-State of the Union Day, plus all the news of the day coming up on Clay and Buck.
Live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Korea Studios are powered by Adaptive Networks for all your IT needs. Call Ryan and Jennifer Van Alstyne, owner-operators, at 661-241-0638 or online at adaptive-net.com. Adaptive Networks, our IT company. We are efforting our interview with Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. Will be with us in just a moment, I am sure. Coming up in the 5, you will hear from Robert Scrivener. Shannon Grove had a press conference in Sacramento today, along with Lauren Skidmore, the executive director of the Open Door Network, and Christina Scrivener, Zach Scrivener's estranged wife, along with their oldest child, Robert, who I believe JR told me is going into the military. He's 18 years old and told his story. And we do not have Mr. Bianco.
I left the message, but I'm sure he'll get back to us momentarily.
All right, very good. But we played some of that audio for you when Teresa Goldner was here, and we'll play it again when we talk about it in the 5. And our Black History Month moment today focuses on Mae Jemison, a chemist, mathematician, and the first Black woman in space. Talk about that a little bit. And the city has to cough up $22 million. I'm sure you remember the case that involved Ricardo Robles, a Bakersfield police officer who was in a chase late one night on Mueller and South Vineland, and he was speeding without his lights and siren on, went through a stop sign and T-boned Mario. I can't read my own writing. I hope I'm getting this. Laraz, L-A-R-A-Z, I believe. I can't read my own writing. I apologize. And killed Mario, and Anna Hernandez was severely injured. Meantime, Robles was sentenced, if you can believe this, to 2 years probation and 500 hours of community service. If you're a police officer, you can kill somebody accidentally and not spend a day in jail. It just, our justice system absolutely mystifies me. In the wake of Teresa telling us the story of the woman, if you're just joining us, weren't with us earlier, the story of a woman who owned 2 homes and was renting them out, and the post office in her community in Euless, Texas, wasn't providing her mail intentionally. And she sued. It got to the 5th Circuit. They approved it, but the government appealed it. It got to the court, and Clarence Thomas led the charge in a 5-4 decision that said that you can't sue the post office, even if they are intentionally withholding your mail. You cannot sue the government or the post office, which to me makes absolute. I understand if they accidentally lose your mail, even if it's for an extended period of time. I understand not being able to sue on those grounds, but for intentionally withholding your bills and just information, please stand by. This is Angela Barton. So in your opinion, how did it go? We can't find him.
Did we get it wrong time? Was this supposed to be at 4?
No. Was it supposed to be at 4? No, don't tell me. Please, Chris, don't tell me.
Because that's the only reason why I should be texting you at 4:30.
No, it's available at 4:30 on the 24th. 4:30. God, you had me scared. We'll see what she has to say. I don't know. Maybe she can get a hold of him. I don't know. This is all through Angela Barton, who is obviously a gigantic supporter of Sheriff Bianco. Meantime, we disturbed Sheriff Youngblood.
Well, no, I think he said he was out there working. He said Bianco was actually supposed to be out there as well.
So nobody can find the sheriff.
Oh. Well, the Sheriff Youngblood said he was supposed to be, or Bianco's supposed to be there tomorrow, at least.
Tomorrow. Okay. Well, hopefully he will call us at some point. God, it'd be disappointing if we didn't get an opportunity. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure Angela is running around now trying to go hold him for us. But meantime, we're just, an hour and a half away from one of the longest State of the Union speeches that you're ever going to hear. And, I did not know this. Did you guys know this? That there is a long-standing tradition that prior to the State of the Union, the president sits down in an off-the-record luncheon with the media. I did not know that. And I heard Jake Tapper talking about it. Not very much, obviously, because please stand by. Hold on, I'm reaching out to him right now. Okay, apparently we'll get him in just a second. Yeah, Tapper didn't say much because, again, most of it is off the record. There were some things that he talked about. I think there's going to be a bombshell Iranian announcement tonight. There were reports of Iran saying something, their foreign minister saying something to the effect that Iran is willing to do whatever it takes to avoid a conflict with the United States. Now, I don't trust a word that comes out of the Iranians' mouths, but the U.S. Gerald Ford is now in the area along with a large group of warships and F-18s and other fighter planes in that area. So it's maybe we force them to come to talks. There's supposed to be nuclear talks this weekend, but this is the greatest sponsor of terrorism on the planet, if you ask me. And I think the president is itching to do something about this. We have Sheriff Bianco. Ladies and gentlemen, Riverside County Sheriff and gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco. Sheriff, thanks for coming on the program again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Where do we find you on this Tuesday afternoon?
Well, I'm actually where am I? Pismo Beach. Pismo Beach. I was in Tulare County this morning, and then I was in, oh my gosh, I'm brain dead when it comes to where I am.
I understand.
I do my speaking engagements. I get in the car and go to the next spot. But we just got to Pismo Beach for our next event.
I understand. You're there with Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. What are you guys up to?
I am. I haven't seen him yet, but I know he's here somewhere.
Yeah. What are you guys doing?
We have a sheriff's conference. So this is one of, we'll probably have 3/4 of the sheriffs here. It's a business meeting.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the campaign. We'll begin as we do with all of our would-be legislators. Why are you running for governor?
Well, because we all know that our state is broken, and it is my belief that Californians are looking for someone that they can trust, someone that they can look up to actually be telling them the truth, looking for them, working for them, and really I think they're looking for a leader. And I think that my history, my position as sheriff, especially as one of the larger sheriffs, I think I just fit that bill.
The polls have swung. They have consistently had either you or Steve Hilton, the fellow Republican, on top throughout this entire campaign, even when Eric Swalwell came in. But the script has flipped. You were on top, and Swalwell was second, and Hilton was third. Now Hilton is leading, Swalwell is second, and you are third. And some pundits are saying that it was Hilton's criticism of you at a BLM event where he is alleging you took a knee along with some of your staffers. Is that accurate? And do you think that has had an impact on the campaign?
Well, just a little correction. There was another poll that came out today, and it has me way ahead.
Is that right?
I'm at 23%. I think Swalwell is 18, and Hilton is at 15 or 14. So in the last couple of weeks, he obviously dedicated all of his resources in destroying another Republican instead of what we all know the problem in California is Democrats. And we think that the strategy backfired on him. No one wants to hear it. Nobody believes it. Everybody knows that what he was pushing was fabricated or his little version of events. And my personal belief is he was doing it because of last weekend's convention with the CRA, the California Republican Assembly, and he was hoping that the more conservative crowd wouldn't like the lies that he was telling about me for the reasons he was saying it, and it backfired on him.
Yeah.
I won 70% of that vote. I got the nomination from the CRA, and the polling that came out today shows that we're over it. They don't want that. They're sick of that in the campaign. That's how Democrats run campaigns, and they're over it.
So he made this up. There's no video of you kneeling at a BLM event?
Oh no. There's a video of me kneeling, and what we were praying with the crowd. You can see the crowd. They were kneeling too. Does that mean they were kneeling to me? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. You've got 1,200 cops there. We all know what it was. We all know what happened, which is why I'm still, and even since then, I emerged as one of the nation's leaders in law enforcement. That could never happen if I knelt to BLM. I have all of the support of all the sheriffs, all the chiefs of police in the state, all of the law enforcement officers in the state in this election. That would have never happened if I sided with a domestic terrorist organization that hates cops. I mean, that night I set the tone for the entire country on how to handle those riots. And when we did everything we could to keep them calm, and when they decided they were not going to be calm, we used an overwhelming show of force to physically remove them from our community. And they have never come back.
Okay. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco is our guest, gubernatorial candidate. It appears, based on these numbers, if they stay consistent until June, that one of you two will likely be in the general election. How do you reach out? How do you expand your campaign? Because we are a one-party state. How do you get independents? How do you peel off moderate Democrats in order to defeat, most likely, either Eric Swalwell or Katie Porter?
Yeah, we are very confident that that's exactly what's going to happen. This last poll was actually a very good independent poll. It specifically went in depth into the no party preference, the independents. I've already been endorsed by the American Independent Party. So, and then this last polling shows that the people that identify as no party preference or independent are already going toward me. And then we already know from previous polls that moderate Democrats are also going to vote for a sheriff to keep the state safe and end the corruption.
Yeah.
So we have a very, very viable path to victory. And to be honest, we're the only candidate on both sides that have a very viable path to victory. And I'll throw something else out there at you. When a one party state, we're really not. If you look at it, they're 45%. That means 55% of the rest of us don't agree with them. So the rest of the state has the control in this election. And I think the polling showing that, I mean, this one, Steve dropped down to third, but with Steve and I at the top of both pollings, and some polls show us at like 20 and 18 respectively.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
That's a big number.
It absolutely is. Has there been any discussion And obviously, it might have been prior to his attacks on you on the BLM issue, but has there been any discussion between your two camps that, let's say, we're 2 weeks away from the primary and one of you, whichever one it is significantly ahead of the other one? Is there any talk of the candidate who is third a week or two before the primary kind of throwing in with whoever is leading to assure that we at least have one Republican in the general?
There was talks before, but I think Steve decided that he was going to go rogue on everything. I mean, going up into this, there was a chance that two Republicans could have gone.
Absolutely.
And he has made sure that he has ruined that. So to be honest with you, I don't know. There certainly won't be any talking from my side because my entire adult life is about integrity, and Steve has shown that he has absolutely none. And so he can, it's up to the voters, it's up to the delegates, it's up to the people that are out there supporting. They need to say enough is enough, and you need to get out so we don't lose our chance of finally taking our state back.
Yeah. Gubernatorial candidate, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco is our guest. Let me ask you something about current events. Senator Shannon Grove is up in Sacramento today trying to put guardrails on mental diversion programs. This is obviously in the wake of Zach Scrivener, our local supervisor, who was not charged with a sexual charge, but was accused by our sheriff of sexually having problems with his child, and yet was not charged with a sexual charge, was charged with child endangerment, was given a lane in mental diversion programs, which has this community's hair on fire. And now, not only has Shannon Grove, but Jasmine Baines and another legislator putting bills to the legislator to try to put some guidelines or guardrails on mental diversion programs. What are your thoughts?
There should be. We have gone so far in this state under this Democrat rule in the last 14 years that is so pro-criminal. It is so love affair with criminal, with complete disregard for victims and law-abiding residents, that it's like life is upside down. And we absolutely must put a stop to this. We absolutely must. I am fully behind what Shannon's doing. I will be very vocal supporter of her and other legislators that are going to get on board. What the interesting part of this is you're going to see Democrats that are going to absolutely refuse.
Yeah.
And this is what California has to get to the point. When you have something like this and you have all Democrats saying no, then all Democrats have to stop being elected.
Yeah.
It's sad, and I hate being that brutal politician like that and getting politics that deep. But when you have lost all common sense, when you have lost the ability to use reason and protect people, protect kids, protect anyone, our residents, when you have lost that, you have no business being in politics, no business being in government, and we need to stop electing these people.
Yeah. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, gubernatorial candidate, our guest. If you could get one message across to California voters in terms of the direction of your campaign and what you intend to do when you're elected governor, what would it be?
Yeah, everybody needs to realize my entire adult life has been doing what's best for everyone else. And I'm going to be no different when I go to Sacramento. Yes, I'm a registered Republican. I'm not winning this race for Republicans. It's not for Democrats. It's not for independents. This is for Californians. We need a place where California government actually works for the betterment of all Californians instead of all of us working so hard to make California government bigger. This race is about Californians, and I want Californians to vote for me because they want something better, not because I'm a Democrat or a Republican.
I'm running out of time. I'll leave you with this, a personal, just curious question. It's got nothing really to do with the campaign, but I have been pretty vocal about how the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, has been handling the Savannah Nancy Guthrie case. I thought that they should have immediately brought in the FBI once they realized that this was a national celebrity. They allowed the media to go on the crime scene at one point. He's talked about openly that it could be a year before they find her mother, which is not what the Guthrie family wants to hear. What's your take on how this thing has been handled in Arizona?
As a sheriff, and I know how these things work, I'm not going to criticize somebody else, but I will tell you that knowing how things have transpired, it would have been drastically different in my county. I'm a major, large county, much larger than that county.
Yeah.
And I would have been begging for federal resources to come in and help. I would have been wanting everything that they had to find the missing person, regardless of who it was, whether it's a celebrity or whether it's not. A kidnapping, we always involve our federal partners. The resources are just too great. You don't want to turn that away. And then, to try and to give in to the media, absolutely never. Absolutely never. That's the number one rule of law enforcement. Media has absolutely no right to be anywhere. We keep them away. We keep them, give their distance. They can get their shots. We can give them little comments, but they don't control anything. They don't get extra attention. I think it would have been a completely different investigation here in Riverside County.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Again, we'll leave you with this, as we do with all of our would-be legislators. Tell the listeners why they should vote for Chad Bianco for governor.
For a better California. I want everyone to be proud of this state when they leave. You can be proud to be that you're from California. I want you to know that the 32 years of integrity and honesty and leadership is exactly what I'm taking into Sacramento. I am not your politician. I'm your favorite sheriff. And who better to clean up this corrupt state than the guy with the gun, the badge, and the handcuffs? I appreciate everybody's support. You can share me on social media, Sheriff Chad Bianco, on all social media platforms, and BiancoForGovernor.com.
Sheriff, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. We appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with the campaign. I'm sure we'll talk to you again before June.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Take care. Sheriff Chad Bianco out of Riverside County. And I have not seen that poll. I'll look it up. But he says he is leading Eric Swalwell by 5 percentage points. And Steve Hilton, who he is not a fan of now, by 8. Interesting. And still about 20% of the electorate is undecided. We'll take a quick time out. Not a lot of time before we get to the 5 o'clock hour, where you need to hang on. You're going to hear Robert Scrivener, the oldest child of Zach and Christina Scrivener. Christina was in Sacramento with State Senator Shannon Grove trying to help get SB 1373 over the goal line, as we just mentioned, making guardrails on mental diversion programs in the wake of the unbelievable charges leveled against her husband, her estranged husband, Zach Scrivener. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1180 KRN, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
You got Messmaker right here. You want to play it? Or
Yeah, you got one?
I got one, yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of the show. Highlights, lowlights, what the Democrats do as stunts, etc.
And if we do give the Ayatollah a whacking, what are the risks? We'll consult a bunch of leading global experts and talk about war with Iran. Also, whatever the news of the day happens to be on the next Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
One of the highlights of this radio broadcast appears on Thursdays at 4:30. Our money man, Daniel Petrie with Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. You all know by now what Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors are all about. You know that I've turned on staff members who are extremely happy with being a client with Daniel. And I've told you, I've been a client for almost a decade now, and it is the single most important and smartest financial move I have ever made. If you're staring at retirement late in life and you're in the fourth quarter, call Daniel, 395-9400, 395-9400. Just keep it locked. Tune in every Thursday at 4:30 when it appears on the broadcast. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. Does not constitute a solicitation or offer to buy or sell any security, future option, or other financial instrument, or to offer or provide any investment advisory or other services to any person in any jurisdiction by Daniel Petrie or MPWAE, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. Any views expressed in this broadcast by us are prepared based upon the information available to us at the time, and we are under no obligation to update our views.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day. No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Pet stains on your carpet? Carpet Outlet Plus has everything you need to make your floors pet-proof. With over 100 in-stock waterproof floors, Carpet Outlet Plus can solve your pet problems for good. We also stock over 50 colors of pet-perfect carpet. Call, click, or come by today for your free in-home estimate. Don't forget, for the do-it-yourselfer, we also offer free next-day delivery on all qualifying stock floors. And as a bonus, go to carpetoutletplus.com and apply for 12 months no-interest financing. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Ah, springtime. A time to plant some flowers, cut the grass.
Drag racing fans, forget the honeydews because it's back. And it's Nitro time. The Good Vibrations Motorsports March Meet returns to Famoso Drag Strip in Bakersfield, March 5th through the 8th. 4 big days of nitro burning funny cars, dragsters, and those insane ground-pounding fuel motors. Experience quarter-mile drags like it used to be. Walk the pits, check out the car show, swap meet, and the manufacturer's midway. The fuel is sensation and sell nitro all weekend long. See the champions crowd on Championship Sunday. Tickets at the gate or marchmeet.com. Kids 15 and under are free with a paid adult. The Good Vibrations Motorsports March Meet at Famoso Drag Strip, March 5th through the 8th. Smell the nitro!
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
As God, I didn't love you when I did.
Interesting discussion with Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, and that was classy of him. That's why I ended with that question about the Guthrie investigation, because as I've stated from day 2, Chris Nanos, the sheriff of Pima County, has absolutely bungled this thing from the get-go. And without saying that, Sheriff Bianco said that, basically saying, without criticizing him, it would be handled differently if I was in charge. And that says a lot, because this thing has been bungled. I'd be surprised if the Guthrie family doesn't sue Pima County if this thing ends tragically. Let's read a text message and get into the 5. We'll hear from Robert Scrivener, the oldest son of Zach and Christina Scrivener.
Tight end Tony Gonzalez better than Shannon Sharp or Gronk?
Yes.
Better than Shannon for sure.
Gronk, yeah, I think he was more elusive than Gronk, although Gronk could run you over. But yeah, if I had to put a tight end on my team, it would be Tony Gonzalez. No question about it. Big, was a good blocker. I think he blocked better than Gronk. Athletic. Shannon Sharp. Although I'm biased, I don't like Shannon Sharp anymore. His whole podcast, then that whole breakup and the woman and he's kind of a moron. I like his brother much, much more. Quick time out. We'll talk about the Scrivener situation next.
This is AM 1180 KERN. Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM. Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The State of the Union offers President Trump a big stage tonight during a midterm election year.
The president plans to highlight his achievements over the past year, including a more secure southern border and passage of major tax cut legislation. He'll also be laying out his agenda for the year ahead, as Republicans will try to buck the historical pattern of the president's party losing House seats in the midterms, a trend that has persisted for 8 decades.
That's White House correspondent Greg Clugston reporting. Tonight's Democratic response will be delivered by Virginia's newly elected governor, Abigail Spanberger. It's been 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine, and there's no sign that hostilities will cease anytime soon. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte marked the war's anniversary by affirming the West's defense of Ukraine.
This war is about a sovereign people's right to choose its own path. It is about freedom, yours and ours. That remains true today. NATO stood with Ukraine from the beginning. We stand with you today, and we will stand with you throughout the challenges ahead.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country has withstood the onslaught by Russia's bigger and better equipped army. He added that Russian President Vladimir Putin has not achieved his goals. Millions across the northeastern United States contended with treks to school and work as they dug out from a major storm that blanketed the region with snow, canceled flights, disrupted transit, and downed power lines. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 370 points. More at townhall.com.
This month, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Benjamin Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G service. What's up with that? Ben Franklin wasn't even a president. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be in business with an American wireless company that supports our vets in a big way and keeps all their customer service in this country. That's important. And you'll be on the same towers the big carriers use, so you'll get the same 5G service without the inflated price. So hang on to your Benjamins and switch to Pure Talk for a Jackson and a Lincoln. No contract, no hidden fees. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll get 50% off your first month when you switch. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, for an American wireless company that is truly unprecedented.
Come on, say it.
Pure Talk.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
The name of a murdered woman revealed after nearly a half century. I'm Chris Davis. That woman's body was found in the parking lot of Westlake High School in Ventura County in 1980, and police say she was killed by the same person who killed Shirley Sose near Delano in Kern County. Thanks to the Jane Doe DNA project, she's been ID'd as 22-year-old Maricela Rocha Parga, who was 4 months pregnant when she was killed and whose family reported her missing when she didn't show up for a gathering, reports KGET. You might remember a fire on Glacier Drive in the Frazier Park area back on February 7th. The woman who was killed in the fire has been ID'd by the Kern County Coroner's Office as 66-year-old Margaret Ann Hinrichs. The coroner's office also ID'd the woman killed in a Friday wreck on Highway 14 near Cantle as 50-year-old Christy Lynn Vivian of Ridgecrest. Police say she ran off the road and her car flipped about 8:30. A little bit of relief for the detainees at the Lerdo jail. They don't have to be taken somewhere else to have their showers, and that's less of a security risk. That's thanks to some filters that were installed in the showers. The water right now is considered not safe for drinking, showering, or much else, because last week trace amounts of diesel were found during testing. The water tanks are getting a thorough cleaning, says the Sheriff's Department. A couple of people who will be guests at tonight's State of the Union speech were invited by representatives from California. Representative Robert Garcia, a Democrat, has invited Annie Farmer, the sister of Jeffrey Epstein survivor Maria Farmer. And Representative Ro Khanna, also a Democrat, invited survivor Haley Robson. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get up close like this. Little thing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Tuesday, and just minutes away from the longest address of a joint Congress in the history of the United States. Donald Trump is going to break his own record tonight. I'm guessing about 2 hours, just about 2 hours. 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock East Coast time. He'll delve right into the 11 o'clock news on the East Coast, the Democratic response is coming from the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So now you're 15 minutes into the 11 o'clock news, and they've got to wait till tomorrow morning and the Today Show and Good Morning America, et cetera, to criticize the Trump speech, which will focus on the Dow being over 500,000 or 50,000 for the first time ever. He'll talk about inflation. He'll talk about gas being at the lowest price in 5 years, even though the president, the federal government has nothing to do with that. He'll talk about the tax cuts and the fact that you're going to have more money in your pocket in the year 2026 because of the lack of taxes on overtime and tips for restaurant retail operators, and the Trump accounts providing $1,000 for newborns for folks. I just hope he doesn't overplay it and come out screaming this is the greatest economy in the history of the United States. And I also think there's going to be a surprise announcement about Iran. I really do. I think they are, not that I believe anything that the Iranian government is saying, but I think that they are facing a possible destruction. They've got chaos in the streets. They've killed, some estimate, up to 20,000 Iranians already. And it was the president that got them to stop from hanging hundreds of more Iranians. So and LA, I know this from going to high school in LA, very large Persian population in Los Angeles. So it'll be interesting to see if, in fact, he touches that. In the meantime, as we've talked about throughout the broadcast, State Senator Shannon Grove was in Sacramento today with Lauren Skidmore, the executive director of the Open Door Network, who has become kind of a confidant of Christina Scrivener, Zach Scrivener's estranged wife, who was there along with her son, Robert, who obviously was one of the 4 witnesses and 4 participants in that horrendous night in Tehachapi when Zach Scrivener's life as he knew it came to an end. He was, according to the sheriff's department, sexually touching his daughter, and the 2 boys got involved. A knife somehow was brought out. Zach was stabbed because, according to the sheriff's department, he was waving around a gun after the boys interrupted him being in bed with their sister. He was high as a kite on 3 different drugs, according to the sheriff's department. And as we all know by now, the AG's office had to handle this because Zach's aunt is the district attorney, is the top cop in Kern County. And the AG's office, Rob Bonta and Joe Penny, absolutely bungled this thing. And I absolutely, and again, I'm an idiot for doing so, but I disagree with our federal magistrate judge, Teresa Goldner, who thinks that there just may not have been enough evidence to charge Zach with a sexual charge. I don't care. I really don't. I think you still had to charge him. You had to take a shot. But for many of these attorneys, even in the AG's office, it's all about score. It's all about chalking it up as a victory. They feel like they got essentially a conviction. And the thing that I don't understand, if in fact Teresa is right, and there's a great opportunity that she is, a great likelihood that she's absolutely right, that they didn't have the case, or perhaps didn't want to have to demand that the 4 children, many of them young, the 2 girls are younger, didn't have to want them to face H.A. Sala. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine those 4 children having to get up on the stand and be cross-examined by H.A. Sala? He'd have them telling the jury that Christmas is on October 31st. I mean, that's an overwhelming advantage for H.A. Sala, where just through a series of questions, it doesn't matter how well you remember things. And again, let's remember this was years ago, and this is the memory of children. But if you ask the right questions, you can make somebody sound like they have no idea what they're talking about. Where you mix up time frames and the child comes off confused to the jury. And in most juries, in most jury trials, when a witness who is the key witness is confused and makes errors in their testimony, that's your doubt right there. That's enough to get a not guilty. Not an innocent, but it's enough to say, I just don't think the prosecution proved their case beyond a shadow of a doubt. And if you don't think H.A. Sala could confuse a child, you have never seen Humberto Sala work in a courtroom. He is a genius. He is a maestro. And so perhaps that was the case. So if it is, and that's a possibility, I'm not going to bet against Teresa Goldner up against my legal knowledge. Google and Google. I'm not that arrogant. But why are they complaining? Why are you complaining? You know what you charged him with. You knew what that would lead to. Meantime, as I mentioned, Senator Grove was in Sacramento with the Scrivener families, Christina and her son, Robert. And again, I really don't think we understand how much courage it took for that young man to be the focal point of this thing now. And Shannon, the state senator Grove, came out and broke it down. I mean, she broke it down point by point by point, what happened that infamous night to Hatchapee. Then Christina came on and made allusions to mental diversion and her husband without mentioning him. And then Robert Scrivener came on and talked about the situation between he and his father.
My own father, who was an elected official in Kern County, assaulted my siblings and myself and was granted mental health diversion. Our case was a clear example of our flawed system. Because of my own experience, I feel compelled to speak out, not just to address my own hardships, but to protect present and future victims.
I think this is significant legislation. And you see the difference between Republicans and Democrats, or maybe just Shannon Grove and Jasmine Baines? Jasmine Baines does it with theatrics. The Lords of Bakersfield, the Epstein files. I mean, really. And Shannon takes you directly to the point. She brings a victim, his mother, they break down what happened, and they're trying to get this legislation through. Now, the reality is, it doesn't have a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. Not in that legislature. But the good news is, this can be used during these primaries that are coming up in June, and perhaps even in the gubernatorial race. I think Chad Bianco, every time a light goes on, should talk about mental diversion and what a joke the Attorney General's office is, and how we need to take back our judicial system and make some changes. I think this is that powerful. It's not going to save Jasmine Baines, who I don't think is even going to win her own primary. I think Randy Villegas is going to defeat her. She's not even going to get a chance to take on Valadao. And it's what we've talked about, likability. She's not likable. She's got a mean resting face. She's not very jovial. And, that's the reality of politics. I told you I ran into Judy McCarthy the other day, and people forget. I always thought Kevin McCarthy's strongest strength was his affability. He was likable. He really was a likable guy. And there was no bigger fundraiser than Kevin McCarthy. And that, is a gargantuan part of politics. I think it upended Hillary Clinton. I think it's about to upend Katie Porter. Just people who are not likable. I think Kamala Harris suffered from that very same thing, where she thought that laughing and giggling made her affable. No, it really doesn't. It makes you silly. It makes you unserious. It makes you ridiculous. But let's hope and pray that enough Democrats will side with us on this thing with Shannon Grove, SB 1373. I just don't think so. But we can use that in the long run, I think. I really do, because Democrats are going to line up against this simply because it's a Republican attempt. If a Democrat had put this forward, maybe they'll get on board with Jasmine Baines' situation to help out her congressional campaign. But, this whole thing has just been such a blight on our community. And you never know people until I've always said, you never know anybody until you live with them. You just don't. And it's just such a tragic situation for those 4 children who are forever scarred. I have lost my dad when I was 36 years old, but I have fond memories. I enjoy thinking about my dad. I enjoy remembering my childhood. And these kids, their childhood and their memories have been stolen from them. They don't want to think about their childhood. They don't want to think about growing up. They want to speed up to being an adult and put their whole childhood behind them, because it's been an absolute nightmare for these kids. I'm sure they're in therapy. I'm sure Christina's in therapy. You imagine being the point woman. I've seen some nasty, vicious things said on Facebook. In fact, I reacted today where some guy was criticizing Christina and said that they put the boy up to it. They made him say what he said and this, that, this, and that. And I'm just like, there's just no explaining some people. It really isn't. Just a vicious, cruel society in 2026. The only other thing that I was disappointed in was the fact that there was no mention of Kathy Scrivener. I think Christina did it masterfully. If you watch there's going to be no news, but maybe the 11 o'clock or maybe the morning news tomorrow, you'll hear Christina Scrivener where she made allusions to her children telling the truth. And I think that was a very subtle way of taking a shot at her mother-in-law, who Sheriff Donnie Youngblood has stated told the children not to speak to the police. And shame on the KHSD board, who, while they're trying to dismiss 2 board members for a transgender issue, only former board member Chad Vegas has had the temerity to stand up and say, Kathy Scrivener's got to go. Our sheriff has stood up and said she committed a crime. And not one of those board members has talked with her privately, apparently, or said anything to her about her resignation. And it is startling to me, absolutely startling. And at the end of the day, as I've always said throughout this whole thing, as bad as the shrapnel has been, because I think some people are unintendedly getting damaged by this, namely our DA, but a Scrivener or a Cynthia Zimmer never get elected dog catcher. Never. Never. They might not force Kathy Scrivener off the KHSD board, but she'll never get elected to anything in this community ever again, and rightfully so. She's just incredibly lucky that she has not been charged, and I'm not sure that that situation is ended. I think if the AG's office, I'm lying. No, they're not going to charge her. If they weren't willing to go after Zach, they're not going to go after his mama. And I think they intentionally let Zach slide. And that's why they're taking their shoe off and pounding it on the table in this fake outrage about the decision when they knew exactly what was going to happen, in my humble opinion. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, bottom of the hour. Our Black History Month moment focuses on scientist and astronaut Mae Jemison, first African-American woman in space. A woman in New York, I believe it was on a, what do you call that, Chris, when it's a bunch of people talking on a thing?
Zoom call.
A Zoom call, thank you, sir. A Zoom call with a bunch of educators. I believe it was Hunter College. My friend Tracy Phillips is a member of the alumni. And they were addressing Black children in a school in New York, and she didn't realize it was a hot mic. And I think you know where the story goes. We'll hear from Allison Friedman, soon to be former professor at Hunter College, if you ask me. And recap our top story of the day. The Guthrie family has upped the ante for a reward for the return or any information leading to the return of Nancy Guthrie. They've upped it to $1 million. Where you been? That should have been on the table day one instead of the paltry $50,000 that they offered for about 2 weeks. Big time out. We're coming right back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Tuesday, a warm and comfortable Tuesday. God, it's gorgeous outside. Blue skies. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s throughout the week. Got to 82 today. We're coming right back on the Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. We stream live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Are you going to play the thing?
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
$500,000 for a building that is burned down 23 times in the last year, and it only makes me ask, why the hell haven't we just let this thing burn down to the ground already? And then the internet is great as it is. The comment says, I hope the person that reports this fire didn't call 911.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What the are you doing? Stand 10 yards of the backfield. Get up on the line. Don't you know how much time's on the clock? You almost cost us a chance, son.
That is New York Giants head coach Bill Parcells reaming Garces graduate and one of the best caterers in town, Mike Arieh. Mike spent 3 years with the New York Giants and played with the Green Bay Packers as well. And it's the discipline and hard work that he learned in the National Football League, a Garces kid, going all the way to the big show to become one of the best caterers in Kern County. For over 20 years now, Mike has been a caterer in this town, working with Big Mike's Ragin' Barbecue. And it doesn't matter what your event is. I know graduation is coming up. There's St. Patty's Day, whether it's a corporate event, a wedding, you're going to have some of the best food at your event you've ever had. Mike comes with his crew, his rig. They do the cooking, they do the cleaning, they do the serving. He does everything. He is an amazing caterer. Call him today at 393-5507. That's 393-5507. Mike Arieh, Big Mike's Ragin' Barbecue. And yes, they're still raging hot.
And we're back. Rob and Bob here once again for California Fruit Depot. Rob seems to be laughing. This is a commercial. We only have 60 seconds.
Okay.
We need to sell citrus
and nuts.
Dates, nuts, dried fruits. We need to tell people where we are as if they can't do it by Google. And if you don't know where we are by now,
you're not listening enough.
You're really not listening.
Get in your car, drive around, and
Here's
listen.
something that you're going to pay attention to. I would like to, and I hate to get political, I would like to merge Kern County with San Luis Obispo County.
That's a great idea.
We can do a lot with it.
What took you so long?
They can use our resources. We can use their resources.
Oceanfront property for us.
Listen, oil, ag, and beach. Moving on. We need a tag phrase at the California Fruit Depot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The one we've been using is, it's just like Disney, but with only citrus.
I think it's too complicated, way too long.
And the cease and desist letters are stacking up high. Enough about this foolishness. Just visit California Fruit Depot. Come on out to Edison and say hi.
I mean, what a pro.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
The Grateful Dead. Bob Weir, the late Bob Weir. I loved these guys when I was in high school. I really did. I'd never heard anything like it. Obviously, my white friends turned me on to it, and I'd never heard anything like it. And then I went to a Grateful Dead concert, didn't see anything. This time, my drugs and my drinking, and I slept through the whole damn thing. Not my proudest moment, I can tell you that. 842-5376, 842-KERN. I hope you heard that spot that I ran with Mike Arieh. I stole that from ESPN, from the bio of Bill Parcells, where there's a segment in the bio where they talk about Bill Parcells' anger and ability to just go off on guys. And that was when Mike, I mean, imagine a Garces kid in the same locker room with Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms and those heydays. He was there in the late 80s when the Giants were on top. And apparently it was a extra point. And Mike was a left tackle, which other than the center, it'd be a good discussion. Now, what do you think? Who's more important, the center or the left tackle?
Honestly,
I'd
say
if it's a
center.
right-handed quarterback. I think it's the left tackle. It's that blind side. You got to protect that blind side.
True.
Right? If you got an edge rusher that can beat up your left tackle all day, it's going to be a long day for your right-handed quarterback.
But
you're right. The center is the quarterback of the line.
Exactly.
He's normally the smartest guy. You ever notice that centers in college are like 4.0 students? They're always the smartest. Jason Kelsey, much smarter than his idiot brother, who somehow is going to stagger into this wedding. I'm going to have to take a no on that. I have predicted that they're not going to make it to June. But apparently it seems like they're very, very happy. And he insists that they have never had an argument in their, 2-year relationship, which I believe only because if I'm dating Taylor Swift, I ain't fighting with her. You know what I'm saying?
Everything you say is correct.
That's right, baby. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm wrong.
There's that handbag? Absolutely.
That's right.
That's fine.
That's right. Shoot. You don't screw that up. She really is a cute girl. I saw a clip of her on Jimmy Fallon where her, whatever the song was, had been out for like 48 hours. And the entire audience to a person knew the words and sang the song like it was Song Song Blue. Or no, not Song Song Blue. What's the song all the white people sing? Caroline. Sweet Caroline. Sweet Caroline. Boy, you play that and white people will stand up and sing. I don't care if it's at a funeral. It's crazy. You know it's true. Ball
There's
game.
a long list of songs that do that.
No, there's nothing like Sweet Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. Are you kidding? You can play that at a funeral. White folks will get up and start singing. It's the truth. But so yeah, it was an extra point, and Mike apparently was a little bit off the line, and Parcells just rips into him, and he wasn't even called for a penalty. And they got the extra point. They just scored a touchdown. Mike comes jogging off thinking he's going to get patted on the head by Bill, and Bill just goes in him. The F are you doing? What do you think? You're a running back? Would you get up on the line of scrimmage? You almost cost us, son. It's a great story, man. I'm telling you, you guys should just one night, if you ever run into Mike at the cigar shop or Eurykio's or Bill Lee's or Casey Steakhouse, just ask him to tell some of the stories. They are remarkable. Just he was, part of the heyday and played with Majkowski, the Magic Man in Green Bay. I forget who the quarterback was when he was with the Giants. I think it was Phil. Might have been Jeff Hostetler. No, Hostetler was more the 90s. And then he came to the Raiders. He was our quarterback for a little bit. I think he played with Phil Simms. Because there's nobody between Simms and Hostetler, is there?
What year is this?
Like late 80s. Mike is, 2 years older than I am? So, yeah, like 87.
Phil Simms would have started by at least 88, 89.
Yeah. Quick timeout. We head into the last half hour of the broadcast. We'll have our Black History Month moment focusing on Mae Jameson. And we'll hear from a soon-to-be former Hunter College professor. All that's coming up. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The White House says President Trump will use his State of the Union address to argue he and the Republicans in control of Congress are best suited to continue tackling the public's concerns about the cost of living. Mr. Trump plans to announce that tech companies involved in artificial intelligence are agreeing to pay higher electricity rates in areas where their data centers are located. The president also could use the address to proclaim the economy is booming. Federal workplace safety regulators have penalized 3 businesses over their failure to protect 6 Colorado dairy workers who were killed by exposure to highly toxic hydrogen sulfide gas after a manure pipe disconnected in an enclosed space. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 370 points. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
The woman killed in a fire on February 7th on Glacier Drive in the Fraser Park area has been ID'd by the Kern County Coroner's Office as 66-year-old Margaret Ann Henricks. In a wreck that happened Friday morning on Highway 14 near Cantle, the woman killed in that wreck has been ID'd as 50-year-old Christy Lynn Vivian of Ridgecrest. Police say she ran off the road and her car flipped. The recall petition against Kern High School trustees David Manriquez and Stephen Rodriguez may have lost a bit of its punch. According to Manriquez, the statement that says the trustees broke the public trust by voting to allow biological males to participate in high school female sports teams has been ordered taken out by the Kern County Superior Court. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Last week, there was the Paul Sheldon sighting. Kind of rare and very exciting. Everyone asking, where has he been? Of course, his clients weren't worried about their Medicare, even when Paul in person wasn't there, because there's Christine, Kelly, and Lynn. The grandkids like to play, Where's Waldo? Granddad's asking, hey, where'd Paul go? Just games that are fun to win. But when push comes to shove and the day is done, we know it's covered, so it's all in fun, because there's Christine, Kelly, and Lynn. Over the years, so many have said it. The guy's a genius. Gotta give the man credit. He put it together way back then. Brought along those 3 Medicare pros, who of course by now everyone knows are Christine, Kelly, and Lynn.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with a friend, Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox from the Californian will join us to administer the news quiz, and we'll back all of it up with state-of-the-art news, traffic, and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6.
You doing Black History right now?
Why?
I was just asking just so I could play the song.
Yeah.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Our Black History Month moment focuses on scientist, chemist, and astronaut Mae Jemison. Mae Carol Jemison was born October 17, 1956. She is an American engineer, physician, and former NASA astronaut. She became the first African-American woman to travel into space when she served as a mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour in 1992. Jemison joined NASA's astronaut corps in 1987 and was selected to serve the STS-47 mission, during which the Endeavour orbited the Earth for nearly 8 days, September 12th through the 20th, 1992. Born in Alabama and raised in Chicago, Jemison graduated from Stanford University with degrees in chemical engineering as well as African and African American studies. She then earned her medical degree from Cornell University. Jemison was a doctor for the Peace Corps in Liberia and Sierra Leone, the sister city of Inglewood, California, by the way, from 1983 to 1985, and worked as a general practitioner. In a pursuit of becoming an astronaut, she applied to NASA. Jemison left NASA in 1993 and founded a technology research company. She later formed a nonprofit educational foundation, and through the foundation is the principal of the 100-year Starship Project funded by DARPA. Jemison also wrote several books for children and appeared on television several times, including in a 1993 episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. She holds several honorary doctorates and has been inducted in the National Women's Hall of Fame and the International Space Hall of Fame. Jemison's work has been heralded as one of the finest astronauts in the program. She resigned from NASA in March of 1993 to start a company. NASA training manager and author Homer Hickman, who had trained Jameson for her flight, later expressed some regret that she had departed. Jameson built a dance studio in her home and has choreographed and produced several shows of modern jazz and African dance. And in the spring of '96, Jameson filed a complaint against a Texas police officer, accusing him of police brutality during a traffic stop that ended in her arrest. She was pulled over by NASA Bay police officer Henry Hughes for allegedly making an illegal U-turn and arrested her after Hughes learned of an outstanding warrant on Jameson for a speeding ticket. In the process of arresting her, the officer twisted her wrist, forced her to the ground, as well as having her walk barefooted from the patrol car into the police station. In her complaint, Jameson said the officer physically and emotionally mistreated her. Jameson's attorney said she believed she had already paid the speeding ticket years ago. She spent several hours in jail and was treated at an area hospital after release for deep bruises and a head injury. The Nassau Bay officer was suspended with pay pending an investigation, but the police investigation cleared him of wrongdoing. She filed a lawsuit against the city of Nassau Bay and the officer. May Carol Jameson, astronaut, physician, and African artist, apparently. Something I bet you didn't know. 842-5376, 842-KERN. What do you got on the board?
Let's see.
I am so excited to go home tonight.
Why is that now?
Because it's going to be warm in my apartment. I can take off my clothes and not have to put on a big sweat top and my sweats. And I think I've been eating really well the last 3 weeks. For example, I told you I got a Hershey bar, Monday? Was it Monday or Sunday? Sunday, I think. And I just finished it this morning.
Nice.
Took me 3 days to eat a Hershey bar. But I think I'm falling off my diet today. And I don't mean diet like I'm trying to lose weight, just the regimen that I'm on to get out of the sixes. My A1C, my last blood test was at 6.5, which is ridiculously high. That makes no sense. So I'm off of all bread. The only bread I eat is from Bonnie's Best because it's brown bread. It's even better than wheat. But I haven't had, I cheated Saturday. I did have I had the Italian from Jersey Mike's. And I think I'm going to have a pair of chili dogs tonight. I think I'm going to fall off the wagon. No fries, though. Because Dorito Schnitzel actually has pretty damn good fries. But I think I'm going to do a pair of chili dogs tonight. And I might even have a cocktail. I haven't had a cocktail all week. All week. It's Tuesday. And we are inside a month now officially for the Honor Flight Open Monday, March the 23rd at the beautiful Bakersfield Country Club. And if you have not already signed up, I strongly suggest you do so now. Literally, go to honorflightopen.com. Please don't do the Bakersfield and wait till the last minute, because I've said throughout the last couple of weeks, we had to turn away some folks last year. We had such a tremendous turnout because it's a great cause. It's all about Honor Flight. It's all about the veterans, and you get to play golf at, I think, the finest course in Kern County, and you get to help send our veterans back to Washington, D.C., where they're part of Honor Flight. They are feted, honored, beloved by everyone, and everywhere they go, they get to go to their respective memorials. We have still World War II veterans. It's predominantly Vietnam veterans now who are themselves now in their 80s. And there are just some events that go on during the trip that the guys don't know about, or maybe they've heard about it because we talk about it so often. But it is really, as I've described over the last decade, a life-changing event. For those that go like me, I've cut back. I've been on 7 trips, and I think that's enough. I really do. I set hairs on fire when I said that after I got back from my last trip for reasons I don't understand. And it was interpreted as if I wasn't going to have anything to do with Honor Flight. And I think anybody that knows anything about me, anything, if you remotely know me, you have to know that that is an absolute impossibility. That as long as I'm breathing air, I will be a part of Honor Flight, and I will help them help get our veterans to DC, because it is a life-altering trip for these men and women. And so I really need you to participate. Again, go to honorflightopen.com. It's going to be a great afternoon. This is our 4th try at it. and it gets better each and every year as we work out the bugs of a new event. Now it's not so new. Like I said, we're going on our 4th year. I know Cassie Biddle and Casey Steakhouse is going to be involved. I'm not sure if Salty is providing lunch again.
I think Cassie is.
Cassie's providing the lunch?
Hey, last I heard that was the case, but I
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Yeah. And then we have a little a cocktail party and hors d'oeuvres following the event. So please go to onaflightopen.com. And like is in the case of George Culver, who would normally play, because George is a stick, former baseball player, as most of you know, threw a no-hitter in Major League Baseball. You can just make a contribution. George said he was unable to play on March 23rd, so he reached out and made a contribution to us. We appreciate that, George. Hell of a guy. I love me some George Culver. And no, I'm not going to bore you with my 2 favorite George Culver stories. But I will advise you, when bumping around in the cart, take that beer out of that holder. It's the greatest advice I ever got on a golf course, and George Culver gave it to me. First day I met him, we were playing I'm going to bore you with it. We were playing a golf tournament together, just met him. And the other part of the story is I was late. There's a shot. And they were already in the fairway. So he waved me up, and I said, well, get out of the middle of the fairway. And he just sat there in the golf cart. I said, okay, old man, I don't know who you think you are, but I'm about to put this in your back pocket. And I sliced it right. And he came and got me, and we went and got my ball. And I said, by the way, why were you in the middle of the fairway while I was hitting? And he said, well, I looked and saw you're a 15 handicap. I figured that was the safest place on the golf course, in the middle of the fairway. Thank you, George. And then we went down the next hole, which is like the deep, I think it's 13, I think it is, where it goes straight downhill. It's a really short par 4. I think they've extended, because that place is having all kind of issues. It's not even Rio Bravo anymore. It's now Scarlet and Gray or something like that. And the dad of the former owner took over because the owner got into it with his wife. There are accusations of domestic violence, and the wife allegedly, reportedly, cheating on the owner husband with the groundskeeper's son. Oh yeah, it's salacious. And there allegedly is video of her coming out of one of the locker rooms with the groundskeeper's son, and kind of got the sex hair going, and they're buttoning up and disheveled, et cetera, et cetera. And now the dad had to step in, and from what I understand, they've made some improvements to the golf course, but I just don't think, you people think like driving to Delano is like, like an overnight stay or something. So I just think the distance to go out to Rio Bravo, even though tons of people, Kern River is probably the most active golf course in Kern County. And Rio Bravo literally is about, 4 minutes from where you take the turn on Alfred Harrell Highway to go to Kern River. And yet, you'd be hard pressed to get a start time at Kern River on a Saturday morning. And yet Rio Bravo has just been, I don't know, just bad luck. Because it's a great track. It really is. I love playing out there. I play really well out there too. Just certain horses for courses. And for some reason, even when I was struggling, like I am now, I play well out there. It's a nice track. It's flat. The greens aren't as treacherous as BCC, and certainly aren't as fast, but they've had all kinds of issues. The owners, the residents out there once owned it, and now the dad had to come in and bail out his son. But, we wish the best. I don't want to see any local business, let alone a golf course, going under tow. Final break of the night. We'll come back and play some audio for you from a woman, a Hunter College professor who was on a, what is it called again?
Zoom call.
She was on a Zoom call with about 15 to 20 other professors, and they were listening to New York City black school children recite something. And, well, you got to hang around and hear the audio to hear the rest of the story. Suffice it to say, she'll soon be out of a job. I can promise you that. Take a quick time out and come right back and wrap this thing up. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. And please stand by. The folks from Bakersfield College are joining us tomorrow. And it'll be the executive director of the foundation. Actually, no, it could be a team from Morehouse Medical School? I'll find out before we leave here in just a matter of minutes. And speaking of minutes, the Speaker of the House and the Vice President of the United States are in their chairs, as are the members of Congress. We are minutes away from the President's first State of the Union and his second administration. And get your popcorn, or not popcorn, get a meal ready. This is going to be a long, long, long night. The President's going to break his own record as the longest joint session of Congress in the history of the country, as the legislators are making their way. I don't see anybody I know other than the Speaker and the Vice President. Quick timeout, coming right back, wrap this thing up. Howard Marcus and the folks from Bakersfield College tomorrow. Right here on the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, quite a State of the Union speech from President Trump. We will break down all of the high points for you, including his new national security strategy, the focus on the economy, what he's got planned for border enforcement and immigration, and so much more. It's post State of the Union Day.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. What'd we do? What'd we do? What'd we do? Three, two. I got to tell you, I have a new hero, and that's Robert Scrivener, Zach Scrivener's oldest child. The 18-year-old accompanied his mother to Sacramento to help State Senator Shannon Grove get SB 1373 over the goal line, putting guardrails on metal diversion in the wake of what their father got away with. And I just think we don't understand how much courage it took for that young man to talk about his situation. I have absolute admiration for the young man. 3, 2, it's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Wednesday TRBS. Well, it's a Wednesday, so our former federal agent Howard Marcus will join us, and the folks from Bakersfield College will stop by as well. All that and remarks about the President's State of the Union on the Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. I'll see you at 3. How much time I got?
499 12 16.
This month, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson.
Hey, Siri, call Lenina Andrews.
You need an extra minute?
Yeah, can you give me one more?
$5 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Benjamin Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G service. What's up with that? Ben Franklin wasn't even a president. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be in business with an American wireless company that supports our vets in a big way and keeps all their customer service in this country. That's important. And you'll be on the same towers the big carriers use, so you'll get the same 5G service without the inflated price. So hang on to your Benjamins and switch to Pure Talk for a Jackson and a Lincoln. No contract, no hidden fees. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll get 50% off your first month when you switch. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, for an American wireless company that is truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
for love. I tried everything to give up. Give up maybe too far. What I would not do. Wonder what is wrong with me. Cause I'm in the state of mercy. I came back to let you know. God, that's bad. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. Just about everybody that wants to be in the house is in the house. We are minutes away from the Sergeant of Arms entering the House of Representatives, where Honor Flight is always taken on their trips with either Kevin McCarthy or now Vince Vaughn and David Valadao. And the Sergeant of Arms will come in and say, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States. And they'll go through the whole shaking hands as he walks down the aisle. It'll take about 10 minutes for him to get to the podium. And he's got two people behind him that support him 100%. So there'll be no tearing up of speeches. Thank you, Nancy. But you can believe there's going to be some shenanigans. You can bet on that. 50 of the legislators at some other event with Joy Reid, failed CNN on-air talent, and I use that phrase loosely, talent. She's a despicable human being, and even worse, on-air talent. They're meeting with like Robert De Niro and Mark Ruffalo, and oh, look, the Sergeant of Arms is a woman. Lord. Do a little song and dance. Cut me off. Do a little song and dance.
Well, I hope
Hey, I'm
everybody
about to
enjoyed
do
today's
my,
show, and thank
promo
you
for tomorrow. You got a
to
name for me?
Governor elect, or well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Governor elect. Hey, Chad Bianco, the
Yeah,
Republican
whatever you want to do. Who you
nominee for governor here in California, as well as Teresa Goldner, as always, with her insight. And that was actually a very crazy story. I didn't get to actually chime in on that, but Ralph and I talked off air and both kind of agree that it is kind of interesting that the government is able to just withhold your mail that way. I just don't understand it as well. So
What you talking about, Willis?
The story that Teresa was bringing up and withholding your mail.
Oh, that's just crazy.
I don't understand it as well. I don't get
That
it.
really just brought me down. Teresa was talking about, I don't know what Chris said, but a woman down in Euless, Texas, which apparently is southwest of Dallas-Fort Worth, wasn't getting her mail. And it was intentional. And she owned 2 different homes. She rented them out. None of her tenants were getting mail. So therefore, people were moving. She couldn't get other tenants to get in because they couldn't get mail. Why in the hell would you move into an apartment building where you don't get mail? And it was being done by the federal government on purpose. They were purposely withholding her mail. And she went through the courts. She just wanted $50K from the government, $50,000. That's all she wanted, which I think is a low bar. And she had some Stanford students as her legal expertise, which I think was part of the issue. You're taking a bunch of young attorneys going up against the Solicitor General, the man who represents the government. I'm assuming he's a seasoned veteran. You know what I'm saying? And she lost. He got all the way to the Supreme Court, and Savannah boy, Clarence Thomas, led the charge against her. She's out $50K. I'm assuming she's still not getting her mail. You can't change post offices unless you change address. Just a horrible, horrible case. Let's read a couple of text messages. I love that the Sergeant at Arms is a woman. I don't know why I love that. But here comes the president's entourage. And I don't know any of those people. I don't know who this is coming down. Oh, this is the cabinet. That's who it is. Let's see if Kash Patel is in Vegas or not. That's Waltz. He's a security guy. I don't know who that is. That's Justice Roberts. Oh, the court did show up. There's Kagan, and there's Brett, and that's my favorite, Amy Coney, and ooh, that's all I see. I don't see Clarence. I don't see Sam. I don't see Sotomayor. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that. The complete complement of the Supreme Court not there. I wonder what that means. I guess you can't bag on the court and expect them to show up at your State of the Union. That was reprehensible of the president. It really was. Yeah, there's there's Roberts, Kagan, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, no Sam Alito, no Clarence Thomas, no Sotomayor. Interesting. And they're about to introduce, everyone is standing, and they're getting ready for what is going to be a long night in our nation's capital. I think the president's going to go till close to 9 o'clock. I really do. Or at least 8:30. He's going to break his own record. And he's going to talk about, the first thing he's going to talk about is the stock market. He's going to say that it's a great economy. I hope he doesn't, but I think he is. He's going to say that your 401ks are thriving. That if you are in the stock market in any fashion, you're extremely happy. That we went over 50,000 for the first time in American history. That inflation is down to 2.4. That gas is at its lowest price in 5 years, even though the federal government has absolutely nothing to do with the gas prices. He'll talk about the tax cuts, the fact that waiters and waitresses no longer have to pay taxes on their tips or overtime, and the Trump accounts, the $1,000 that he's supposedly handing out to young families for newborns. I just hope he does it in a humble way. And again, the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia will be providing the rebuttal at about 11 o'clock Eastern time. But it's going to be interesting. This is an opportunity. And again, they're voting in Texas, and most primaries throughout the country are beginning either in March or, like us, in June. So this is pivotal. This is very pivotal. And it's going to be interesting. Another thing that's going to be interesting is the Iranian thing that I told you about. I think there's going to be an Iranian announcement tonight in terms of our intentions with Iran. And it's going to be interesting to see who the president introduces. I have the list, but I won't spoil it for you. You obviously know that the hockey team is there. And it'll be interesting to see when he introduces his guests, what kind of reaction the Democrats will have. Will they, oh, look, there's Barron. I love that kid. And his, what is she, his half-sister, Bianco?
Honestly, I don't know how that worked.
Like when you have the same dad but a different mom?
Half-sister.
Half-sister, yeah. Good kid. Really good kid. Want to thank our guests today, Teresa Goldner and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. If you missed our interview with the sheriff at 4:30, just go to YouTube. You can watch that segment or any part of the Today Show or any show that we've done in the last 3 or 4 months. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. Our former federal agent, Howard Marcus, will join us, and some folks from Bakersfield College. I just haven't found out who yet. But in the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey, and that's what's really going on. I will rap to you tomorrow.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
Speech. Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump delivers his State of the Union address momentarily at a critical moment in his presidency. A preview from White House correspondent Greg Clugston.
This evening's speech comes just a few days after the Supreme Court dealt the president a serious blow by striking down his global tariffs, and as the U.S. military continues a massive buildup in the Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. With polls showing the public unhappy with his handling of the economy, the president is expected to tout the steps his administration has taken to lower costs for everyday Americans. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Immediately following the president's remarks, newly elected governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, will offer the Democratic Party response. President Trump has picked up some good economic news coming into the State of the Union address. The latest report on U.S. consumer confidence shows improvement this month. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
The Conference Board says that its consumer confidence index rose to 91.